Chapter 1562. That's impossible, Yulanting said unhappily. Only the female bloodline of the Qing Qiu clan can do this. Young Master Yang, you don't have to make up such a reason to reject me. Even if I, Yulanting, am too old and ugly to enter young Master Yang's eyes, I don't need to be pitted like this. Yangqing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This 2,000-year-old fox spirit was still throwing a tantrum like a little girl. Secmaster, I'm serious. I have a woman named Anshin. Once, when I was making love with her, a suction force suddenly appeared in her body. Not only did it suck out some of my true essence, it also produced some extremely pure spirit energy and injected it into both of our bodies. At that time, my cultivation increased by a lot, and Anshin also broke through from the innate stage to the spirit-severing stage. It was simply unbelievable. I didn't use any cultivation technique, and my woman definitely didn't know it. It was completely by chance, and I never succeeded after that. Yulanting saw that Yang Cheng didn't seem to be lying, so she pondered for a while and asked, just based on this, I can't tell. Was there anything else at that time? Yangqing thought for a while and clapped his hands. Right at that time, Anshin's eyes turned a very flirtatious green for some reason, but it was fine after that. Green? Yulanting suddenly stood up, and a trace of surprise appeared on her face. What's wrong with you? Does green have any special meaning? Yangcheng was puzzled. Yulanting asked again and again. Young Master Yang, did you really see green? Yangqing nodded several times in a row. Could it be that I'm colorblind? Yulanting took a deep breath and paced back and forth for a while. Suddenly, she stared straight into Yangcheng's eyes. Yangcheng didn't know what this fox spirit meant, but in the next moment he opened his mouth in shock. Yulanting's pair of bright eyes actually flashed with a demonic green light. It was exactly the same as Anshin's. After Yulanting hid the light in her green eyes, she said solemnly, Young Master Yang, do you know what our Qing Qiu clan uses to determine social class? Class. The Green Hill tribe is divided into classes? Not bad. Yulanting said, the Green Hill tribe is a fox tribe, but we are also divided into different levels. The lowest level is the fire fox, which has a red appearance and brown eyes. Many fire foxes find it difficult to even take human form, and the soul formation stage is the limit. The taller ones were the snow foxes. They had a silver-gray appearance and blue eyes. Almost all of them could transform, but it was rare for a snow fox to have more than 5 tails. The nobles above us, the black foxes, have black eyes. Most of them are experts from the Green Hill clan. Throughout history, there were many black foxes with 6 tails and above. Only the celestial foxes, the royal clan of the Green Hill clan, have a pure white appearance and green eyes. Only the celestial foxes can be called 9-tailed celestial foxes because only the royal clan has the chance to become 9-tailed celestial foxes. Yangcheng was dumbfounded. He could be considered a knowledgeable person, but he still couldn't handle this possibility. Anshin, could she be a member of the Heavenly Fox royal family? That couldn't be right. Anshin was clearly a human. However, come to think of it, Anshin did seem to have a natural seductive charm. Ever since they first met, he had been inexplicably attracted to her. In the past, he had thought that it was because she was too seductive, but now it seemed that the trace of the Heavenly Fox bloodline was probably one of the main factors. Yulanting continued. As you can see, Wenhong, Qiyun, and I are all members of the royal clan of the Heavenly Fox royal family. There aren't many members of the royal clan of the Heavenly Fox royal family left, and each of them has a very precious bloodline. Wait, you're saying that my woman, Anshin, is a member of the Heavenly Fox royal family? Yangcheng was incredulous. Yulanting said with uncertainty, if this is true, then it is possible that young Mistress Anshin has the bloodline of the Green Hill royal family running through her veins. Although our Heavenly Fox royal family has rarely had a relationship with humans since ancient times, it is not impossible. Moreover, once we have descendants, the bloodline will always be passed down. The reason why we didn't notice this in the past is because the Heavenly Fox bloodline in her body is very thin. If she doesn't cultivate in her lifetime, I'm afraid that she won't be able to activate that trace of bloodline. However, because she has cultivated to a certain level and with the help of a large amount of spiritual herbs, she has a chance to activate that trace of heavenly fox bloodline spirituality. After all, our royal bloodline is very powerful. Yang Chung said worriedly. Will that hurt her? Yulanting was slightly surprised and said softly with a smile, It seems that young Master Yang is indeed a sentimental person. At this time, the first thing you think about is the safety of your woman's body. It is really rare among human cultivators. If you say that, I will blush. Yang Chung rubbed his chin awkwardly. No, Yulanting said to reassure him, if she really has our Qing Qiu royal family's bloodline in her body, after activating it, it will only slowly strengthen until one day, the human bloodline in her body will gradually weaken until it disappears. Then, similar situations have happened in history. At that time, she will have the cultivation talent of our heavenly fox royal family. This is a very honorable thing for her. Although she can't grow a foxtail like our heavenly fox royal family, after all, her body is human. However, in terms of talent, there is not much difference. Yang Chung let out a sigh of relief. He couldn't help but feel happy for Anshin. This was really a blessing from the heavens. However, Yulanting said seriously, Young Master Yang, can you take this concubine to see your confidant? Oh, what are you going to do? Yang Chung frowned and asked warily. Don't worry, this concubine has no ill intentions. Our Qing Qiu royal family doesn't explicitly state that we can't marry with humans. We won't say that if there is a descendant with a human, we must eliminate that kind of thing. Yulanting smiled and said, Firstly, I want to confirm if that girl called Anshin really has our noble bloodline. Secondly, if she is really a descendant of our royal family, even if she is a descendant with a human, she can still choose to join our clan. Our clan is not that kind of ancient antique that is inflexible. If that Miss Anshin is willing to become a member of our heavenly fox royal family, then we can naturally teach her the secret techniques of our Qing Qiu royal family. She will be able to cultivate with twice the result with half the effort. Moreover, she will be able to cast many mysterious spells with infinite power. Yang Chung thought that this woman wouldn't dare to lie to him. It was indeed a good thing for Anshin. After all, he didn't know how to cultivate the bloodline of a demonic beast, so he nodded and agreed. Many thanks, young Master Yang. Yulanting was also happy. If this was successful, it would be equivalent to a member of her royal family and Yang Chung being lovers. Wouldn't this greatly shorten the distance between them? Yang Chung asked. Then when will sect master you leave? My woman is abroad. Can young Master Yang please rest in my Demon Gate Palace for a day? After all, this concubine is the head of a sect. Leaving the Great Desolation Realm is not a small matter. I have to take care of some matters and inform the Demon Gate elders of this happy occasion. I also have to select some people to accompany me. Yulanting said. Yang Chung naturally didn't have any objections. As for whether he could bring these demonic beast cultivators abroad, he wasn't worried. With his relationship with the gods wouldn't do anything. The next day, in the sky above the wilderness south of the Ning family's location in the illusion realm, a black mass of more than 100 cultivators gathered here. All of the cultivators were at least at the karmic fire stage. Among them, the Luo family was led by Luo Qinxiu, Luo Pingqiao, and Luo Changchun. There were also 8 elders at the early to late stages of the weak water stage, and Luo Qianli. These added up to 10 weak water stage experts and 2 Tai Ching, divine, lightning tribulation experts. Although they weren't all the top experts of the Luo family, they were still able to suppress the cultivators present. In addition, under the leadership of Xiao Mengyue, the Xiao family also came, including Xiao Mengyu, Xiao Mahue, Xiao Majing, and the others. There were also 6 supreme elders and dozens of Xiao family's karmic fire and Mingshui stage experts. Although they were much weaker in terms of aura, they were still quite strong. After a moment of disdain, another 6 weak water stage experts flew over from afar. It was Ning Zhengfeng, leading 5 supreme elders of the Ning family and a group of Mingshui stage cultivators. I'm sorry to have kept the 2 patriarchs waiting. I can only blame the family for having some troubles, so I was delayed. Ning Jingfeng cupped his hands and apologized. Luo Qinxiu frowned. I heard that the genius of the Ning family, Ning Ruozhu, has just successfully broken through into the Tai Ching divine lightning tribulation. Why? Isn't she coming with us to kill Yang Cheng? Chapter 1563. Patriarch Luo, please forgive me. I can't do anything about my third sister. I argued with her for a long time before I came, but she still ignored me. My third sister has never been obedient since she was young. She does whatever she wants, and I can't do anything about her, Ning Zhengfeng said helplessly. Xiao Mingyue sneered. You're worried about losing the #1 expert in the family, so you deliberately told Ning Ruozhu not to fight. Ning Zhengfeng wasn't angry, and said with a smile, Patriarch Xiao, you're worrying too much. This time, we've gathered so many experts, what danger can there be? Whether it's the Western gods or Yang Cheng, that traitor will kill anyone who stands in our way. It's just a massacre to support the righteous path. I hope so, Xiao Mingyue snorted. Could it be that Patriarch Xiao has lost confidence before you even stand up? That's not impressive enough. Ning Jingfeng said with a smile. Xiao Mingyue's expression changed, and he turned his head without saying anything. Luo Pingxiao, who had been silent all this time, said, Since you're here, lead the way. Let's go. Ning Zhengfeng didn't dare to neglect this unfathomable expert of the Luo family. He politely agreed, then waved his hand and flew southwest with a group of people. In the forgotten country of the Mediterranean Sea, in the morning, the mist on the sea gradually dissipated, and the sun shone, bringing a trace of warmth. However, the temperature continued to drop, making the Mediterranean Sea in May feel like a spring chill, completely unlike the temperature that this season should have. In the main central residential area, there was a relatively spacious stone house. It was the place that Ron arranged for Mother Wang and Min Wan to live in, and now there was Su Xian. At this moment, Lan Lan, who was wearing a pink sweater and had a small braid, was sitting at the long table in the dining room. The chubby little girl's hands were resting on the table, and her big black eyes were sparkling as she looked at the exquisite and sumptuous food on the table. Io, our little glutton, look at you. Your saliva is about to fall to the ground. Mother Wang came out of the kitchen with a large plate of roasted cumin lamb. She put the lamb down, picked up a tissue, and wiped the corners of Lanlan's mouth. The chubby little girl pouted and asked unhappily, Grandma Wang, why haven't Mom and the others come yet? Lan is hungry. Soon. Wait a little longer, Mother Wang said with a smile. Life on the island was very peaceful and comfortable. They stood aloof from worldly affairs, and there was no clamor either. Most of them were islanders who wished to live a simple life after washing away their past glory. Mother Wang, Min Wan, and Su Xian were all very used to life on the island. They had everything they wanted, and there were also neighbors from all over the world who came to live in seclusion. They ate and chatted together every day, and their lives were very pleasant. Recently, because Si Yao Qiqing liked to come to Mother Wang and Su Xin's place to eat, and once brought Lan here to eat, the chubby little girl liked to eat in this house. It wasn't that the food was particularly good, but that the castle was a little big and empty for a child. Although there were more than a dozen women and a bunch of servants, the days when the male master, Yang Cheng, was not around were still too cold. Such a stone house was just right for everyone to gather together, and it was especially warm when they ate. In fact, the women were all cultivators now, so it wasn't very important whether they ate or not. However, the rest of the people on the island had to eat 3 meals a day, and people's habits couldn't be changed in a short time, so they still had to gather for a meal. Not long after Mother Wang finished speaking, someone came in from outside. Mr. Ron, you're here too. Mother Wang greeted the old man happily when she saw him. Ron, on the other hand, was a little unhappy. He forced a smile and nodded. I like the food here at Madame Wang's place. Am I a little shameless? Of course not. Mr. Ron is like family. Mother Wang asked with a smile. Why? Mr. Ron is still worried about the flower field. Ron patted Lanlan's head dotingly, then found a chair to sit on. He let out a long sigh and said, "Sigh, it's ruined, it's all ruined. The temperature is getting lower and lower. Not to mention that the flowers in my flower field haven't bloomed yet. A large area has frozen to death. It's mainly because the temperature at night is too low. It's autumn, not summer. If this goes on, I'm afraid many of the trees here will suffer. Many of the trees here are tropical species, and the temperature is too low to survive." Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Sue Xin also came out of the kitchen at this time, holding a plate of baked bread. Many people on the island are saying that the end of the world is coming. Everyone is in a panic. We can't control this kind of thing. Didn't they say that Miss Jane is studying it? We can only see if these scientists can give us an answer. Mother Wong sighed. The door of the stone house opened, and a few beautiful figures walked in. Lin Ruashi and Choi Yun walked in first. They didn't know what strange joke Choi Yun said, but Lin Ruashi couldn't stand it and looked at her helplessly with a smile. Behind them, Imo, Chinny, Kai Ning, and the other girls also walked in one after another, talking and laughing, and greeted Ron and Mother Wong. "It's time to eat, it's time to eat." The chubby little girl immediately jumped up from the chair in joy. Lin Ruashi picked up Lon Lon from the seat, gently pinched her daughter's face, and pretended to be angry. "How many times have I told you? You are the youngest here. Even if Dad is not at home, you're not allowed to sit in the parent's seat." As she said, she put Lon Lon on a children's chair next to her, causing Lon Lon to pout. She didn't think that she was small. Although her head was not much above the table, she could climb on the table to eat. At this time, the two women who entered the house last, Jane and her student Grace, also came in. The two were still wearing the white lab coat. After entering the house, they took it off and hung it on the wall and sat down one after another. The long table was filled with people. Some were scooping soup, some were tearing bread. Of course, there was also someone like Lon Lon who picked up a lamb leg and started gnawing on it until her mouth was greasy. "Sister Jane, how is the research going? Why does the temperature keep dropping?" Jinxiu asked curiously. There was a trace of worry in Jane's eyes, and she forced a smile. "Now, I only found the superficial reason for the low temperature, but I don't know what the real internal reason is." "Oh, what is the superficial reason? You look very worried." Lu Mingyu put down the silver spoon and asked. "The loss of solar energy is serious." Without waiting for Jane to answer, the little assistant Grace couldn't help but shout out seriously. Jane patted the back of the student's head. "Did I tell you to say that? Don't be rude." It was just like Lin Ruashi teaching Lon Lon. Grace stuck out her tongue and lowered her head to drink the soup. All the girls burst into laughter. They felt that this Grace was really like a child. Jane shook her head helplessly and said to everyone, as she said, "The radiation energy from the sun to the earth is constantly weakening. How can this be? I haven't studied astronomy, but I have read some reports. As a star, isn't the age of the sun in the prime of its life? Its energy will weaken?" Mo. Chinny wondered. "This is my further discovery. What puzzles me is that the data sent back by the orbital satellite shows that the solar energy is gradually weakened after entering the Earth's atmosphere. In other words, the problem lies in a key point on our Earth, but for the time being, I have no clue. This matter is simply incredible." Everyone looked at Jane's distressed expression and couldn't help but frown. It was even more impossible for them to have a clue. Jane said again, "According to the current situation, in another month or so, the southern hemisphere will enter the coldest winter in history. And after October, the temperature on our northern hemisphere will only be lower. What I am most worried about now is that in addition to many people freezing to death, many animals and plants will not be able to withstand the cold, resulting in the extinction of the entire Earth's biosphere. So, exaggerated? Maybe it will be better after a while?" Mother Wong was a little scared. Jane smiled bitterly. "In the world of science, there is no such thing as maybe or maybe. Everything has a reason. If we can't find the root cause, we can't change the status quo." Everyone present was a little worried. Even Jane, who was always confident, didn't know what to do. It showed the seriousness of the matter. Only the chubby little girl ate happily. After gnawing on a leg of lamb, she began to gorge on a piece of steak. Suddenly, Jane, Qiangwei, and Kai Ning all stood up one after another and rushed out of the house, shocking everyone. There are cultivators approaching, so many. Jinxiu and Choi Yun also stood up in surprise, their faces solemn. Chapter 1564. With so many people, they're violating the alliance of gods. They must be up to no good. Anshin stood up and said to Lin Ruashi, "Sister Ruashi, is hubby still in that great desolate land?" Lin Ruashi calmly picked up a white napkin and wiped the corner of her mouth. Her elegance and calmness made the bystanders anxious. She nodded and said, "Yes, don't you guys know about it as well? The opponent's true essence is so strong. Hurry and contact hubby," Anshin said angrily. "It's useless." Xiao Qi-Ching said gloomily, "I can't contact hubby at all. I tried to ask when he would be back yesterday, but he couldn't get through. The great desolate land might be different from the illusory land. There's no signal from the secular world." What should we do?" Anshin said frantically. Why did he have to go to that place at this time?" Xiao Qi-Ching smiled bitterly. "Sister Anshin, it's useless to be anxious. I'm afraid hubby didn't expect something like this to happen. Who would have guessed that cultivators would come here?" Anshin shook her head. "I don't care. I have to go with Sister Qiangwei and the others. You guys take care of yourselves. All right, contact Hui Lin. She might be able to help." After Anshin said that, she rushed out with Jinxiu and Choi Yun. In the northeast of the mountains, the cold wind was blowing. Luo Qinxiu, Xiao Mingyue, and Ning Zhengfeng were the current patriarchs of the three families. Even if their cultivations weren't the highest, they were still standing at the forefront. "Oh, I didn't expect there to be a few spirit-severing cultivators on this island." Xiao Mingyue narrowed his eyes. "They should be people around Yangcheng. However, Yangcheng doesn't seem to be here. Otherwise, he would have noticed us long ago." Ning Zhengfeng said, "It doesn't matter. Kill the people around him and eliminate the roots. He will appear eventually." Luo Qianqiu's eyes were cold. The cultivators behind him could feel Luo Qianqiu's killing intent, causing them to shudder. In truth, to a prideful person like Luo Qianqiu, the humiliation of Yang Cheng defeating the entire Luo family by himself and forcing them to flee in defeat was incomparably heavy. Therefore, he wanted to dig out Yang Cheng's heart and lungs more than anyone else. Of course, the people around Yang Cheng were also his targets. Since that's the case, why don't we join forces and sink this entire area? That way, we don't have to waste time stepping on these ants one by one, Ning Zhengfeng suggested. "That's a good idea." Xiao Mingyue grinned evilly. With the scale of hundreds of cultivators and so many experts above the weak water stage, it would not take much time to blast the whole area into powder. At this moment, Qiangwei, Kai Ning, and the others flew into the sky. Discovering that there was such a huge group of cultivators in front of them, the women's faces showed shock. Even in their dreams, they never thought that the first time they faced an enemy in an illusion, it would be such a terrifying scene. Although the women's cultivation improved rapidly, among the hundreds of cultivators, any random karmic fire stage cultivator was not something they could resist. "Who are you people?" Although she felt that the situation was extremely bad, Qiangwei still spoke calmly in the face of danger, thinking that it would be good to stall for time. After all, if Yangcheng was not here, there was still the gods to rely on. Luo Qianxiu and the others' eyes were filled with contempt. A group of soul formation stage women was not worth mentioning at all. "Looks like you're the women of that evil bastard Yangcheng. You've come the right time. This seat will first dismember your bones and dismember your bodies to dispel the hatred in my heart." Luo Qianxiu laughed coldly, and a dark red cloud-piercing lightning appeared in his hand. "Qiangwei, run." Sensing the destructive power of Luo Qianxiu's cloud-piercing lightning, Kai Ning and the others knew that this was an attack on a completely different level. Other than escaping, they had no other way. But even so, Qiangwei felt that there was no way to escape. The other party did not have any thoughts of talking nonsense, and immediately attacked with the intent to kill. Moreover, this dark red cloud-piercing lightning contained a trace of the power of Swan Ni's fierce spirit, and its speed was not something she could dodge. Boom! The dark red cloud, piercing lightning, was like a sharp arrow piercing through the void, drawing a shocking trajectory as it shot towards Qiangwei's bright eyes. Qiangwei's pupils dilated in an instant, and her vision turned dark red, as if she could already foresee her head being blown apart. Her body was actually unable to move, completely suppressed by this huge true yuan pressure. So, in the blink of an eye, a golden red flame arrow that no one had noticed arrived in front of Rose in an instant and collided with the dark red-purple lightning. Pump! The electric current and flame arrow produced a violent explosion, and dazzling light flew everywhere like dancing fire crystals, creating a high-temperature shockwave. But at least it managed to intercept the fatal blow towards Qiangwei. Who is it? Luo Qianxiu and the other cultivators looked angrily into the distance. In the blink of an eye, two portals seemed to break open in the void, and two figures stepped out. The man wore a white suit with a red-striped tie and a pair of black leather shoes, looking handsome and tall. The woman had a head of long silver hair, and a devilishly charming smile hung at the corner of her mouth. She wore a sapphire blue tube dress that reached her knees, like a princess from a kingdom in a fairy tale. It was the sun god Apollo, Stern, and the moon god Artemis, Alice. In Apollo's hands, the platinum flame longbow, Helios, was burning brightly. The huge longbow was taller than Apollo's body, and it carried a terrifying pressure that made the surrounding hundreds of meters feel as if it had instantly entered a high-temperature zone. Even watching from afar, the cultivators felt a lingering fear. In that instant, it was Apollo who shot a flame arrow from an unknown distance, piercing through the void and intercepting Luo Qianxiu's cloud-piercing lightning. Kai Ning and Qiangwei heaved a sigh of relief. Their lives were really hanging by a thread just now. "Thank you," Qiangwei said sincerely to Apollo. Apollo combed the bangs on his forehead and said indifferently, "There's no need for that. You are Hades' family, and the other party is our enemy, so it's only right. However, you are still not strong enough, so go back to the island first." This time, it was Huaxia cultivator who defied the treaty of God, so let's handle this. Qiangwei and the other girls nodded, knowing that they would only be a burden if they stayed, so they immediately returned to the island. "If I'm not wrong, you're the sun god and moon god of the 12 main gods." Ning Jingfeng had a strong intelligence network in the Ning family, so he recognized them at a glance. Artemis smiled sweetly. What a surprise. After hiding for more than 20,000 years, there are actually so many cultivators who dare to come out of Huaxia, and some of them can even recognize us. Pretentious, bluffing gods, Xiao Mingyue said disdainfully. "You came at the right time. Today we are going to kill Yang Cheng's family, but you dare to obstruct us, so we will take care of you too. We will tear apart that covenant of the gods that you are pretending to be mysterious and make you, the so-called gods, scram out of this world." Having said that, Xiao Mingyue waved his hand. "Xiao family, listen up, follow me, and kill these two." He had just become the head of the family, so he wanted to show off and let the family acknowledge his position, so he decided to take the lead. He had some understanding of the strength of the gods, and he knew that the nemesis of the law of space was Huaxia's ethereal force, and it was not strong, so he was not afraid at all. And this battle was in the bag. Seeing that the head of the family was going to take the lead, the Xiao family cultivators, including the grand elders, naturally could not retreat, so they flew out and surrounded Apollo and his sister. Xiao Mingyue took out an upper-grade flying sword, and with a flash of green light, his ethereal force gushed out, and he flew towards Apollo. Green wood mysterious heart technique, withered wood roots. The cultivation of weak water early stage was fully exerted, and the green sword light twisted and twined, like countless tentacles of a monster, wrapping around Apollo. In an instant, it contracted, grabbing him and tearing him apart. Bang! Apollo showed a look of interest and did not dodge. Instead, a fiercely burning flame suddenly appeared around his body. "Ah!" Xiao Mingyue, who had just stabbed down vertically from the air, cried out in surprise, and quickly turned his body to avoid the suddenly expanding flame. The high temperature of the flame had already evaporated his ethereal force shield before it even got close. As for the sword light condensed by the greenwood mysterious heart technique, it had long been minced into pieces and had no effect at all. Oomph! Apollo looked at the pale Xiao Mengyue mockingly and said, "You are far from your ancestors." Chapter 1565. Xiao Mengyue was so angry that his face turned red and white, but he did not dare to act rashly. They had no experience in fighting against the deities, so they did not know the special nature of Apollo's law of space. Although it looked like flames, it was actually the divine fire of the sun, which contained the power of parallel space. As long as the density of space reached a certain level, the true core strength would not be afraid of it, and there was no such thing as a nemesis. "Don't be so arrogant. You're just lucky," Xiao Mengyue roared. "Everyone follow me. Watch my stormy forest." As Xiao Mengyue shouted, more than a dozen cultivators of the Xiao family rushed forward. Their flying swords flew out of their hands, and some of them cast colorful, true core strength spells at Apollo. Xiao Mengyue waved dozens of layers of fluctuating true core strength, one layer after another. As the true core strength surged, it was like a surging green wave in the sky. The other two supreme elders of the Xiao family also cast the formless greenwood mystic palm. Two giant palm prints, one in front and one behind, were like ferocious beasts coming out of the cage, trying to lock Apollo in place. Ignorant, Apollo sneered, and the divine fire of the sun wrapped around his body suddenly burst out again. Suddenly, his whole body seemed to have turned into a blazing golden sun in the sky, illuminating the world. Even the cultivators who were more than 100 meters away from him subconsciously retreated. Several flying swords that were just a few meters away from Apollo's body were unable to restrain their true core strength, and the flying swords also turned into black iron liquid. "How is this possible?" the crowd of cultivators exclaimed. This kind of power was far beyond their understanding of the deities. Even if this temperature was not as powerful as the Samadhi true fire, it was definitely not inferior to the Samadhi true fire used to forge weapons. In fact, it was even hotter. Those spells, including the true core strength of the two weak water stage elders who cast the formless greenwood mystic palm, did not cause any damage. Before they could touch Apollo, they were slowed down by the space barrier and then consumed by the divine fire of the sun. A large amount of true core strength that Xiao Mengyue had cast, even after a dozen continuous attacks, had disappeared without a trace. At the same time, Apollo did not just defend. The huge longbow in his hand, Helios, was pointed at Xiao Mengyue at some point. He nimbly and elegantly placed 2 fingers on the center of the longbow. This divine artifact longbow did not have a bowstring like a normal bow. Instead, a golden red flame arrow condensed out of thin air. When the flaming arrow was as thick as an arm, Apollo quickly let go of it while spitting fire. Rustle. By the time the sound of the arrow piercing through the air reached some people's ears, the blazing arrow had already drawn a red light that pierced through the sky. It was as if a bolt of lightning had split the sky, burning and tearing the space apart. The destructive aura was completely different from Apollo's relaxed appearance. This was not a pure high-temperature arrow, but a high temperature produced by the constant friction of parallel spaces, containing the power of laws that could shatter space. Xiao Mengyue only saw a golden red light in front of him, and he did not know what happened next. But the people around him were looking at him in fear. Patriarch! Dad! Some of the experts of Xiao family, including Sorrowless Mahjong, who was not far away, shouted. Sorrowless Mahjong's eyes were red and full of tears. Only then did Xiao Mengyue realize something. He slowly lowered his head and looked at his chest. Below his chest, in the position of his abdomen, there was a burnt hole. The middle of his body had become a piece of residue. If it were not for the true Yuan shield, his whole body would have been burnt to ashes. No, Xiao Mengyue could not believe it. He was actually dead. After all, Not every cultivator had a terrifying body like Yang Cheng. The true Yuan shield was destroyed in an instant, and the body was burnt and pierced through. There was no doubt that he would die. Xiao Mengyue, an expert at the early stage of weak water realm, who had just sat on the position of the patriarch, never dreamed that he would be so vulnerable in front of Apollo. Seeing Xiao Mengyue fall from the sky and die on the spot, many cultivators felt a chill in their bones. To be able to kill someone at the early stage of weak water realm in one move, perhaps even Luo Qinxiu at the middle stage of Tai Ching realm might not be able to do so. Sure enough, Luo Pingqiao and Luo Qinxiu's faces were ashen. They realized that the situation was not good, but Apollo was not interested in their astonishment, nor did he want to give them time to think and hesitate. Helios was raised high in his hand, facing the sky. He was chanting strange and high-pitched words, which are the real language of the Protoss. Burn, Helios, the wrath of the sun god. Fire rain meteor. A flaming arrow that was several times longer than the previous one condensed from the divine bow and shot into the sky. Just when some cultivators were concentrating on it, but did not know what it meant, Luo Qinxiu shouted loudly, "Open the shield with all your strength. Get out of the way. Run." As soon as his voice fell, the sky, through the clouds, began to be dyed with a blazing red light. Immediately after, countless whistling fiery arrows pierced through the clouds, directly roasted the clouds, and shot towards those cultivators. It was like a meteor shower, but each meteor was a deadly sun god fire arrow. Although the experts above the weak water stage could resist the terrible space penetration and high temperature of the arrows, those cultivators below the dark water stage were not so lucky. Pung, pung, pung. Muffled explosions rang out incessantly, exploding on the multicolored true essence shields of the cultivators. And some cultivators at the Hellfire stage and Water stage couldn't even withstand a single hit. After their shields were penetrated, their bodies were roasted into charcoal, and they died on the spot. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 100 cultivators of the scene, but only 30 or 40 cultivators above the dark water stage were left, and many of them were injured. Apollo obviously controlled the area covered by the arrows very well. Not a single arrow fell on the ground below, and all of them were absorbed into another parallel space more than 10 meters in the air. "Ah, my dear brother, you're too heavy-handed. I haven't even made a move, and you've already killed so many." Artemis had been watching leisurely from the side, and now that so many people were gone, she giggled. Just a group of ants among the human cultivators, daring to offend us with such little ability, they deserve to die. Apollo turned to look at Luo Qinxiu and the others, and said with a cold smile, "All right, the useless bugs are gone. I hope you guys won't disappoint us." Of these cultivators who survived, some of them were already dispirited and listless. Xiao Mingyu of the Xiao clan, seeing Xiao Mingyue's death, was very happy just now that he could take back the position of clan master, but now he was only worried about whether he would have the chance to return alive. Ning Zhengfeng narrowed his eyes, wondering if he should find a chance to turn back. With the two grand pure experts of the Luo clan, they might still be able to resist for a while, and he didn't want his clan's grand elder to die. This Apollo's destructive power was too terrifying, and he actually killed Xiao Mengyue in one move. Only an expert with at least grand pure middle stage cultivation could do that. As the person with the highest cultivation in the crowd, Luo Pingqiao stepped out in the air at this time, and a blue flying sword with a 3-feet-long blade appeared in his hand, which was a high-grade magic treasure. "Bluff, I just killed a bunch of useless idiots. I want to see what you can do to me." After saying that, the flying sword in Luo Pingqiao's hand left his hand, and as it flew, it made a sound of surging waves. It appeared, the old clan master's blue sea sword, tied listening sword chi. Someone in the Luo clan shouted excitedly, obviously full of confidence in Luo Pingqiao, who was a rare genius in the illusion for nearly 1,000 years. At this moment, a large tsunami-like wave rose, as if the flying sword had transformed into a sky full of sword shadows, so fast that one couldn't tell which one was the real flying sword. And, at the same time, it emitted a harsh sound wave. The sharp, dark blue sword aura instantly engulfed the Apollo siblings. The vigorous, true inner strength of the sword chi, compared to Xiao Mingyue's, was like the difference between clouds and mud. Just the coverage area alone made it seem impossible to avoid. A little interesting, Apollo raised one of his hands, and with a shake of his palm, a large amount of sun god fire, like a surging river, continuously rushed out from his body towards the tide-listening sword chi. The platinum god fire and the blue sword chi collided, and neither was inferior to the other, continuously making deafening loud noises in the air. Chapter 1566. The flowing high-temperature airflow and the sharp sword chi caused the space in that area to be continuously crushed, repaired, and crushed again. It was as if a nuclear bomb was continuously exploding. The pressure that was constantly pouring out caused many cultivators with low cultivation to retreat repeatedly. The difference between the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation and the 6 frost water tribulation made the power of the true essence unleashed extremely great. These cultivators even felt that it was unnecessary for them to come. Their strength was not a threat to Apollo at all. Only the Luo father and son might have chance. Seeing that his attack had failed, Luo Pingqiao did not wait for the last moment. He pointed his sword, and the blue sea sword obeyed his call. With a whoosh, it spun in the air and twisted into a spiral. The surging sword chi formed a horizontal tornado and stabbed toward Apollo. The divine fire of the sun could not touch Luo Pingqiao's swift and violent figure, but the group of cultivators behind him were frightened and hurriedly avoided him. Sun Chariot Warhorse. Helios condensed another flame arrow in Apollo's hand and suddenly shot it at the tornado-like blue storm. Boom! The arrow flew out of the divine bow and turned into a galloping flaming warhorse, roaring and charging into the center of the tornado. The warhorse's flaming iron hooves left a large piece of burning space debris. The shattered space energy intertwined with the sword chi tornado, causing a huge explosion inside the tornado. Once again, the two people's attacks could not determine the winner. This time, everyone finally understood that Apollo's strength should be comparable to Luo Pingqiao's, and Luo Pingqiao's strength was at the peak of the Grand Pure Realm. No wonder Apollo could so easily kill Xiao Mingyue. However, the cultivators did not know that the gods had not fully recovered. When Gaia's heart was fully recovered, the strength of the gods would return to a level that would make the ghosts and gods of the current cultivation world pale in comparison. Seeing that it was difficult for her brother to defeat Luo Pingqiao, Artemis was no longer in the mood to watch. "Brother, I'll leave this little guy to you. I'll take the rest." After saying that, layers of frost began to appear around her body, and cold air rose. Her hand flashed with a frosty blue brilliance, like snowflakes and ice crystals, wantonly flying around. An icy blue humanoid longbow suddenly appeared in his hand. A pair of elegant and mysterious wings unfolded from both sides of the longbow. She had silver hair, a long blue dress, skin as white as snow, and an ice crystal longbow. The moon goddess's peerless beauty and awe-inspiring aura caused many cultivators' hearts to tremble. Artemis spun around and aimed Serene at Luo Qinxiu, Ning Zhengfeng, and the other cultivators who were watching the battle from afar. Serene, divine moon arrow. On the godly bow that also had no bowstring, a cloud-like cold arrow was condensed after being lightly strung, and even Artemis' entire body was hidden in a cold mist. "Everyone be careful," Ning Zhengfeng shouted and took out a 6-feet-long spear. The spearhead was not made of any metal, but it was burning with platinum flames. None of them dared to attack rashly, as they were too unfamiliar with the techniques of the gods. They were afraid of falling into their traps, so they could only passively defend. When the frosty mist arrows were suddenly shot out, they didn't shoot towards them as everyone had expected. Instead, they exploded on their own halfway through the air. A large area of white frost mist quickly spread out, enveloping the area within a radius of 1 mile in a blurry white mist. Just as the cultivators were confused, Artemis shot out 3 more moonlight arrows in a row. "Oh no, she's trying to trap us." A few elders of the weak water stage reacted and shouted loudly. But it was too late. The cold mist released by the divine moon arrows had a powerful freezing effect, and had already caused many dark water stage cultivators to feel their movements slow down. Their true chi was slightly impeded, and it was difficult for them to move as fast as usual. The moon goddess chuckled, and her voice traveled into the ears of the cultivators from all directions. However, the cultivators could not find Artemis's specific location, because they could not see anything clearly under the white mist. This area seemed to have become Artemis's domain, and her divine senses were everywhere. Just like her doppelgangers, they could not tell where she was. Luo Pingqiao was also enveloped by the divine moon ice mist while fighting against Apollo. Fortunately, he was not suppressed by Apollo because of his high cultivation strength. The surging sword chi came and went like the rising and falling tides, surging and surging. Apollo's sun god fire was also unyielding. It was fighting fiercely with the divine moon ice mist. But compared to Apollo, who was very used to the divine moon ice mist, Luo Pingqiao realized that if this dragged on, it was only a matter of time before he was defeated. "Everyone, try to separate and don't gather together. Use your true chi to disperse the mist." Ning Zhengfeng shouted calmly, and the long spear in his hand suddenly emitted a large white golden flame. Like a burning torch in the dark, it instantly extinguished a large amount of the ice mist around him. It's a low-grade immortal artifact, Tai Long Tassel. At this moment, a weak water stage master who recognized it shouted. No wonder he is the master of the Ning family, who has the most magic treasures. His first move is an immortal artifact. Many other cultivators were also shocked. Yes, the gods had immortal artifacts, and so did the cultivator Huaxia. The Ning family was the family with the most immortal artifacts. Luo Pingqiao of the Luo family could only use a high-grade magic treasure, the Blue Sea Sword, while Ning Zhengfeng, who was at the early weak water stage, could use a low-grade immortal artifact, Tai Long Tassel. The Tai Long Tassel was made by the ancient immortals, and it relied on the Tai True Fire of the underground Tai Pure Gold to defend against enemies. The Tai True Fire was also a type of extraordinary fire, and it had a high melting temperature. Because it was a metal flame, it was not afraid of ice and water, and it was extremely unique and destructive. Together with the Tai Bai, true essence of the Ning family, it was even more powerful when it was used. But the joy did not last long. In the next second, a cultivator screamed, "Saya Selene, moonlight light." The voice of Artemis came from the sky, and the space fluctuated violently. The cracks in the space shattered, and the power of space condensed into a penetrating bright white light beam. The light beam seemed to penetrate the void, connecting the heaven and the earth, and appeared above the cultivators without warning. Several cultivators of the dark water stage who did not have time to dodge were pierced from the top of their heads to their crotch. Their internal organs were crushed, and they became hollow corpses. Under the moonlight, these corpses became popsicles. On the way down, they turned into broken ice. And a few elders of the weak water stage, because they did not expect such an attack method, were scratched and looked at the sky with lingering fear. "Run! In this ice fog, we are no match for her." A group of great masters was in a panic at the moment, trying to escape in all directions. Artemis laughed very excitedly. Naughty little guys, do you think you can escape?" The goddess's words sounded very mischievous, but there was no kindness or friendliness in her attacks. Rays of deadly cold moonlight, like rain, began to descend everywhere in the icy mist of the moon halo. It was like countless pillars falling from the sky, trying to crush the dozens of cultivators in this area. Ning Zhengfeng and a few other weak water stage cultivators relied on their powerful true essence and magic treasures to keep dodging, and at the same time, opened up and burned this moon halo ice mist. But the speed at which the ice fog gathered was very fast, and it was difficult to break free in a short time. Just as they were about to get close to the edge of the ice fog, they were hit back by the continuous moonlight. It was very dangerous. Three-legged golden crow technique, 10,000 birds facing the sect. Luo Chinchou finally could not hold back. He did not care that he might accidentally hurt his own people in this situation, and his whole body began to be surrounded by the golden crow true fire. Jia Jia! The huge golden crow flew in all directions, penetrating the ice fog, and finally began to open up a path, allowing some cultivators a chance to escape. Luo Chinchou's whole body was like Apollo, becoming a second golden sun in the sky, competing with the sun and moon. Oh, so there's someone with some ability. Artemis stood in the sky and muttered. In the next second, she aimed Selene's divine bow at Luo Chinchou's position. Saya Selene, eclipse of the moon. A dark blue energy arrow instantly condensed and broke through the air. Luo Chinchou's three-legged golden crow also met it in time, wanting to break this dark arrow. But just as it touched the arrow, the dark energy arrow suddenly expanded, expanding into a dark energy ball tens of meters wide, enveloping Luo Chinchou's whole body. Chapter 1567. Although the three-legged golden crow broke through the energy ball before it could touch Artemis, it was sniped by a frost arrow that followed closely behind. Luo Chinchou felt his vision turn dark blue. Suddenly, the dark blue energy in front of him began to spin violently. At the same time, the pressure around him suddenly increased. It was the pressure of the power of space, causing his true yuan barrier to loosen. From the outside, it looked like a huge dark energy ball. After expanding, it quickly produced a flowing vortex. And with the formation of the vortex, the energy ball began to shrink. Space gradually collapsed and scattered, entering another dimension. Luo Chinchou suddenly realized that this move was not to completely defeat him, but to send him to another space, perhaps a spatial crack. In short, if he was sent away, he would not be able to come back, and he might not even be able to survive. No wonder it was called Eclipse of the Moon. It was indeed like the devouring of space. Luo Chinchou had a new understanding of the power of the laws of space. He could not help but be amazed at the power of the gods. But he was not going to sit and wait for death. The golden crow primordial fire on his body more than doubled, forcefully dispersing the dark blue spatial power of the eclipse of the moon. Artemis could not help but frown. Although Luo Chinchou's cultivation was lower than Luo Pingchao's, his methods were not much weaker. Although she did not expect the eclipse of the moon to take him away in one move, she did not expect Luo Chinchou to break it so quickly. Her figure began to blur again, constantly flashing in different places. The rays of moonlight continued to flicker unpredictably. Although the cultivators came back to their senses, took out their magic treasures, cast spells, and wanted to fight her, they could not catch her figure. Moreover, they had to dodge the moonlight from time to time. A weak water stage elder from the Luo family and the Xiao family had just rushed out of the ice fog. Just as they were rejoicing, they suddenly saw a large wave of dozens of flashing blades of light flying toward them. Round Moonlight Blade, Artemis was not far away from them. Raising the Selene divine bow, her hands moved so fast that they left afterimages. She continuously shot out round white blades of light, like a full moon. This light blade contained the power to cut and compress space. It was as thin as a cicada's wing, but its sharpness was astonishing. The two elders at the early stage of the weak water realm tried to resist with the flying sword magic weapons in their hands, but there were too many light blades. After the true essence shield was cut open, blood splashed everywhere on the spot. Two heads fell off, and their bodies were cut into dozens of pieces. It was a horrible sight to behold. The cultivators realized that they had lost another two weak water stage cultivators. They were scared out of their wits. Even their charging speed gradually slowed down. As she became more and more careful, no more cultivators were killed by Artemis. After a long time, The moon halo ice mist had almost been dispersed. Although many cultivators were injured, they were safe. Most of the casualties were dark water stage cultivators. In the fierce battle, Luo Pingchao's whole body was surging with endless tide listening sword chi. He was like an unsheathed divine sword, constantly using sword shadows to fight with Apollo. Seeing that Luo Qinxiu and the others had finally escaped from Artemis's ice fog, he couldn't help but shout, "Qinxiu, take the people and leave." Luo Pingchao wasn't afraid of Apollo and his sister, but he was also very clear that even if everyone attacked together, they might not be able to defeat these two siblings. Moreover, there were still 9 main gods, excluding Yangcheng. Who knew when another one or two would fly over? An escape would be a problem. Luo Qinxiu and the others also thought of this problem. After exchanging glances with Ning Zhengfeng, the two of them flew towards Artemis and signaled the people below to retreat. Relying on Luo Qinxiu's golden crow true fire and cloud-piercing purple lightning, Artemis could still be distracted to defend. With Ning Zhengfeng controlling the Tai long tassel and Tai true fire, they could also cover the rear relatively easily. But just as the group of cultivators was about to retreat, the vast sea below suddenly changed. This is Luo Changchun, who was about to retreat, was the first to realize that the situation was not good. He only saw that on the sea more than 10 miles away, the sea water unexpectedly surged up violently. It was like a wall made of seawater. With a speed visible to the naked eye, it crazily rolled up and stretched towards the sky, reaching a height of 1,000 meters in an instant. This huge amount of spatial energy caused all the cultivators present to gasp in amazement. In just a few seconds, the seawater had become an encirclement that blocked out the sun and the sky, enveloping the group below and the surrounding sea under this huge circular barrier. This part of the sea had been completely surrounded. "Sai, I thought you weren't coming, Poseidon." Apollo retreated from his battle with Luo Pingchao and turned his head to look at the void that was now filled with azure seawater. Dressed in a white chef's uniform, his hair a little messy, his beard unshaven, but his aura was still swift and fierce. Poseidon flashed out from there. It took some effort to make a few seafood soups. Poseidon narrowed his eyes coldly as he looked at the scene of the battle. "If I hadn't used Neptune's domain in time, the two of you would have let go of the fish that escaped the net." "Come on, we haven't even used our full strength," Apollo said disdainfully. "All of us have only recovered less than half of our strength, so I know very well how much you guys are worth," Poseidon said stubbornly. The two of them casually spouted nonsense, not taking Luo Pingchao and the other cultivators seriously at all, as if they were already dead. However, Luo Pingchao and the others finally realized what had happened. It turned out that the Neptune had come. No wonder the sea seemed to be completely controlled, turning into a huge cage in an instant. What made them even more desperate was that the gods only had less than half of their strength. How was this possible? Also, what do they mean by recovering? Apollo and Artemis, who had less than half of their strength, could already beat up Luo Pingchao, who was at the peak of Grand Pure Realm. If they recovered, wouldn't they at least be at the Upper Clear Realm? Now that the Neptune was stronger than the Sun God and the Moon God, Luo Pingchao and the others knew that if they didn't escape now, they might not have any chance at all. Retreat! Retreat at full speed! Luo Pingchao yelled and used all his firepower. Listening to the tide, sword chi surged, and his figure turned into a white-blue sword light, rushing toward the northeast. The other cultivators followed suit and began to retreat quickly, trying to break through the barrier of the Neptune's domain. Poseidon naturally wouldn't let them escape so easily, and a cold smile flashed across his lips. "In the name of the Neptune, I summon the abyssal sea dragons," he chanted loudly in the language of the god race. He stretched out a hand and gently beckoned. Suddenly, from the sea below, dozens of seawater dragons that were dozens of feet thick sprang out. These sea dragons formed from the abyssal sea opened their azure blue eyes, and their bodies emitted a bone-chilling aura. They were formed by the law of space, and they were demonic dragons that didn't know exhaustion and wouldn't die. In an instant, dozens of sea dragons soared into the sky, each of them reaching thousands of meters in the air. The wild dragons danced, and it was a spectacular scene, but made the cultivators' hearts break. As the cultivators fled, they used their magic treasures and spells to bombard the sea dragons that followed them. It was a terrible situation. Even though Ning Zhengfeng, Luo Qinxiu, and the others used their immortal weapons and extraordinary cultivation to defeat a few sea dragons and break through the law of space, the sea dragons could still quickly reform and continue to attack. What made them even more desperate was that this Neptune's domain didn't just form a barrier with seawater. The moment Luo Pengchao was the first to rush towards the seawater barrier, a large amount of condensed seawater suddenly shot out from the seawater barrier. The dense ice arrows were like needles on a cow's hair, shooting out as many as the stars in the sky, like the sand and stones in the sea. With their innumerable numbers, they forcefully weakened Luo Pengchao's momentum. Still trying to escape, Apollo and Artemis had already gone up to meet them. Helios and Selene continuously shot out large amounts of sun god fire and lunar eclipse. One by one, the dark energy balls forced the cultivators to dodge and escape. At the same time, they had to defend against the sea dragons that kept biting them, and they had to attack the barrier of seawater that shot out ice arrows in all directions. The sky was red, blue, gold, and white, and the combination of ice and fire put the cultivators' true essence shields to the most severe test. Chapter 1568. The cultivators who were trapped in the cages by the three main gods finally stirred up the courage that was almost worn out in their bones. They had cultivated for hundreds or even thousands of years. How could they die just like that? Each and every one of them brought out their special skills, and even some vicious moves that would cause them to lose 1,000 of their enemies, and 800 of their own were brought out. It was impossible to live for hundreds or thousands of years without special skills and trump cards. How could they show their trump cards until the last moment? For a moment, although they could not break the sea god's domain, they were not beaten down by the three main gods. Instead, they fought with the three main gods. With the joint attack of a large number of weak water stage cultivators, and with many powerful magical treasures in hand, they could fight back and forth with Poseidon. As for Luo Pengchao and Luo Qinxiu, together with Ning Zhengfeng's Tai Long tassel, they could also fight against the sun god and the moon god. Of course, the cultivators understood that the other chief gods had probably already found out about the situation in this area. The reason why they did not appear for the time being was probably because they felt that there was no need to take action at all. Therefore, as time went on, it was only a matter of time before they showed up. They had to take advantage of the fact that the other chief gods had no plans to participate in the battle and try their best to break out of the encirclement. When the battle on the sea was white hot, the residents on the island were also in a tense atmosphere. The shocking change made the residents who lived in seclusion feel worried. The key was that their backbone, Yang Cheng, had not returned. They had lost their biggest support. It was located in the central area where Wang Ma and Su Xian lived. The women were all gathered here. Although he wanted to leave and hide somewhere else, he thought that if he left, he might be intercepted by cultivators. The women's cultivation was too low, and any tribulation passing stage cultivator could bring him great trouble. It was too dangerous. It might also bring trouble to ordinary people in other areas. Therefore, they chose to stay on the island and believed in the strength of the main gods. The situation made the women feel relieved. The main gods seemed to have the situation under control. Instead, the masters of the three secluded families could not escape. Qiang Wei, Kai Ning, Anshin, and the other women who had reached the soul formation stage were no longer in the mood to stay in the house. They all went outside and watched the battle in the distance. Jane returned to her research institute and tried to see if she could use special communication methods to contact Yang Cheng in the primordial land. At this moment, although they could not see the situation of the battle clearly, the women were still on high alert. Sister Qiang Wei, do you think my husband will be able to make it back in time? The other side is so strong, and it looks like the gods won't be able to defeat them in one go. Anshin asked worriedly. It's hard to say. If Jane can't get in touch with her husband, she may not be able to come back for a while. There was a trace of panic on Jinxiu's pretty face. Her lips were slightly pale as she said, I didn't expect us to be so useless. No wonder Brother Yang doesn't let us go to the illusion every time. Kaining sighed faintly. Don't blame yourself. With the number of years we have cultivated, it's already not bad to have such a speed of progress. Those cultivators are at least decades old, and they are all from the secluded families. We can't compare to them. The women's faces were bitter. Only after coming into contact with such a battle did they understand their own insignificance. They also felt that Yang Cheng had almost relied on his own strength to rescue Su Xin and then rescued Xiao Qiqing. How thrilling was it to fight against the illusion? At this time, the door of the house opened, and a small figure ran out like the wind, holding a fragrant curry chicken leg in her hand. Her chubby face was covered with some meat and vegetable residues and grease, like a little cat. It was Lan Lan. The chubby little girl ran in front of the women and looked at the entire sky that had been enveloped by the sea. Her two big black eyes were full of excitement. Wow, it's so beautiful. As she said, she did not forget to take a bite of the chicken leg and chewed happily. Hey, Lan Lan, don't run out. Go back to the house to eat. Mother Wong followed behind and waved at Lan Lan helplessly. The chubby little girl turned around, shook her body, and said, No, the Annies are watching outside. Lan Lan also wants to see. Mother Wong walked forward and took a napkin to wipe the grease on the chubby little girl's mouth. She smiled helplessly and scolded, You only know how to make trouble. Quickly go in with Grandma Wong, or your mother will be angry. The chubby little girl pouted and looked at the strange and dazzling scene in the sky reluctantly. The women all showed a hint of a relaxed smile. At this time, ordinary children might be scared to tears when they saw this strange phenomenon in the sky, but the little girl was not afraid at all. Instead, she was full of interest. It seemed that she really inherited her father's thick nerves and was not afraid of anything. But in the next second, all the women could no longer laugh. Suddenly, from the distant woods, a few figures flashed, and, in the blink of an eye, they had already arrived in front of everyone. They saw a middle-aged cultivator with a ferocious face, holding Lan Lan by the waist with one hand. Lan Lan! Mother Wong exclaimed, but the next second she was grabbed by the throat by another middle-aged cultivator and held hostage. This scene happened in a flash, and the women did not have time to react. It could be seen that the cultivation of the other party was far above the women. Who are you? Xiang Wei and the other women asked nervously. 5 enemies suddenly appeared in front of them. In addition to the 2 middle-aged cultivators who held Mother Wong and Lan Lan hostage, there was a middle-aged cultivator in a black robe with a long beard, a young and elegant cultivator, and an old man in a gray robe. These people were sorrowful Mahui, sorrowless Zheng, an elder of the Shao family who was at the peak of the Ming Water Realm, and 2 early-stage cultivators of the Ming Water Realm. Although there was a gap between sorrowful Mahui and sorrowless Zheng, at this moment of life and death, the 2 brothers decided to cooperate for once. Because Yang Cheng had not appeared for a long time, they had reason to believe that Yang Cheng was not on the island. Then they decided to bring 3 masters of the Shao family together, and while the battle in the air was white-hot, they landed on the ground and found this place by following the traces of the women's cultivation. They knew that if they could seize the opportunity to capture Yang Cheng's family, it might bring a great turning point to their side. Moreover, their cultivation just happened to not attract too much attention from the Lord God. With so many masters of the weak water realm delaying, it was difficult for the gods to notice that they had missed a few cultivators of the Ming water realm. After all, they were not out of the encirclement. Therefore, after these 5 people found the central house, they came in front of the women in a flash and captured Mother Wong and Lan Lan, who were closest to them. Humph! It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is that we all want Yang Cheng and the people related to him to die. Sorrowful Mahui said with a sinister smile. The women felt a chill on their backs and didn't know what to do. The chubby little girl realized that she was caught and strangled tightly. The big drumstick in her hand fell to the ground and was already dirty. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she felt extremely pained. Lon Lon shouted angrily, "Bad guy, let go of Lon Lon. Lanlin's drumstick. The drumstick is gone. You are bad guys. Woo-woo. Daddy will beat you to death." "Shut up." Sorrowful Mahue was angry and slapped Lanlin's little face. Although he didn't use true essence, it was not a light slap. Lanlin's face was red and swollen, and she cried even louder. Humph! She has such strong true chi at such a young age. It seems that she is the child of that monster Yang Chung. We have caught the right person. Sorrowful Mahue smiled evilly. Damn it! How dare you hit Lon Lon? Seeing that Lon Lon was being hit, the hot-tempered Choi Yun was the first to lose it. She condensed a white flame in her hand and turned it into a white flame spear, stabbing towards Sorrowful Mahue. Yonyan, don't. You are no match for her. Kai Ning was shocked and wanted to stop her sister. But Choi Yun had already attacked and had no intention of retreating. Sorrowful Mahue snorted and waved his sleeve. A green true essence wrapped around the spear and immediately disintegrated it and sent Choi Yun flying. Choi Yun spat out a mouthful of blood and was caught by Kai Ning. Her face turned pale, and she spat out another 2 mouthfuls of blood. Her internal injuries were quite serious. I didn't expect that there would still be someone who knows how to use Heartfire. It's a pity that even though your mystical fire is strong, your cultivation is too low. Sorrowful Mahue laughed proudly. If I knew it would be so easy, I would have come down and captured you bitches around Yangcheng. At this moment, Mother Wong, who was captured by a cultivator, looked at the side of the person in front of her in disbelief. You, Emojong. Sorrowful Mahue's expression was a little strange. He seemed to have realized something. He turned his head and looked at Mother Wong coldly. Yulon, long time no see. Chapter 1569. The ladies were stunned. They knew about Xiao Qiqing's past. Hearing this, they came to a realization. This is Xiao Qiqing's biological father, the one who abandoned Mother Wong and took Xiao Qiqing away. Sorrowless? Does this mean that these people are from the Shao clan? Sorrowless snorted and mocked. So there's an old lover here. Don't tell me it's that bitch Xiao Qiqing's mother? TSK. You've taken good care of yourself. Mother Wong's anger turned to sorrow. She cried and shouted, Sorrowless! Sorrowless! You still have the cheek to show up. You heartless bastard. Seeing that we have a past, I'll let you go today and not kill you. Sorrowless said with a face full of emotions. Mother Wong no longer had her usual virtuous demeanor. She cursed like a shrew. You despicable person. Coward. I was blind back then. You're not fit to be my daughter's father. Kill me now if you have the guts. I feel like vomiting just looking at you. Yulon, you disappoint me. I didn't expect that the you in my memory would become so unreasonable. Huffed. Hypocrite. Mother Wong spat on him, but Sorrowless dodged it again. Sorrowless sighed and didn't want to bother with her. He flicked his hand and hit Mother Wong's acupuncture point. She fell asleep. Before this, the ladies in the house finally realized that something was wrong and rushed out. Xiao Qiqing was shocked when she saw her mother being hit by Sorrowless. She shouted, Let go of my mother! But her appearance made Sorrowless and Sorrowless faces turn gloomy. Great, so you're here too. Sorrowless laughed evilly. Since Yang Chung is willing to break into the Luo clan for you, we'll definitely be able to escape after we capture you. When Xiao Qiqing heard that, her face changed and she subconsciously took a few steps back. The other women also stood in front of Xiao Qiqing and made up their minds. Even if they had to risk their lives, they had to stall for some time. Ninger, you're fast. Go and tell Apollo and the others about what happened here. Qiangwei secretly transmitted. Kai Ning's eyes signaled that she understood. She quietly took a step back and planned to fly up into the clouds. Unfortunately, all of this had been seen through by Sorrowless and the others. Not waiting for Kai Ning to move, Sorcerer Hope grinned and said, If you dare to leave this place or call for help, I will kill this little monster and this woman right now. This time, the women didn't dare to move. They didn't even dare to escape or resist. For a moment, they didn't have the slightest idea. Despicable, despicable. Anshin was so angry that her face turned red. Sorrowless said disdainfully, "All's fair in war. When Yang Cheng robbed our Shao clan, he was much more despicable than us." "Don't talk nonsense," Sorrowless said coldly. "If you know what's good for you, don't resist. Obediently let us cripple your cultivation, and we can consider sparing your lives." The women's faces changed drastically. This not dying was even worse than death. They would definitely use their lives to threaten Yang Cheng. At this critical moment, Lin Ruashi suddenly took a few steps forward. The woman's clear and moist eyes looked at the early-stage dark water cultivator who was holding onto Lan Lan and said in a clear voice, "Let go of my daughter." His tone carried a majesty that could not be refused, as if it was a death order. Lan Lan had been struggling with all her might. Although she was talented and had cultivated, the gap between her and the early-stage dark water cultivator was too big. It was like scratching an itch, and the cultivator didn't show any signs of letting go. "This is your daughter? So, you one of the bitches by Yang Cheng's side?" Sorrowless stroked his beard and laughed weirdly. "Yang Cheng, that bastard, really knows how to enjoy himself. The women he raises are all outstanding beauties. Unfortunately, you'll all become our prisoners today. You and your daughter will become the bitches of our Shao clan. You're even worse than servants." Seeing that the cultivator didn't let go, Lin Ruashi's eyes became colder and colder, as if she was in hell, full of murderous azure chi. Jinxiu, Jinxiu was stunned and realized that Lin Ruashi was calling her name. Lin Ruashi turned around and said lightly, "Let me borrow your blades." When Jinxiu and the other girls saw Lin Ruashi's eyes, they all quivered, as if they had been thrown into an ice cellar. This gaze was completely unlike what Lin Ruashi should have. It even reminded them of Yang Cheng when he was murderous and bloodthirsty. Jinxiu didn't dare to say anything more. She took out the red spider lily and handed it over to Lin Ruashi. "Just one is enough." Lin Ruashi picked up the red spider blade of the two blades, held it in her left hand, and slowly walked towards Sorrowless and the others, step by step. The entire venue seemed to become colder and colder because of the woman, making people shudder. When the girls realized that Lin Ruashi was going to save Lan Lan, they realized that something was wrong. Lin Ruashi hadn't even reached the soul formation stage. Wasn't she just going to die? "Ruashi, I know you're worried about Lan Lan, but you can't just die for nothing." Mo Chinny was so scared that she rushed forward and wanted to hug the woman. However, just as Mo Chinny was about to hug Lin Ruashi's body, she realized that she was hugging empty air. She didn't know when, but Lin Ruashi had already taken another step forward. Kai Ning frowned. She was fast and wanted to press down on Lin Ruashi's fragrant shoulder, but she didn't expect that, just like Mo Chinny, she would inexplicably grab onto empty air again. Lin Ruashi was like a phantom. She was clearly walking slowly towards the other party, but she couldn't catch her figure at all. The woman didn't have the slightest intention of turning back. With gentle steps, she had already arrived in front of Sorrowless and the others. Sorrowless narrowed his eyes. To be honest, he didn't see much, but he still raised his guard. "I advise you not to move. If you dare to go up, your daughter will become a cripple on the spot." Sorrowless sneered. Lin Ruashi didn't care at all, as if she didn't hear anything. She walked all the way to the early-stage dark water cultivator, reached out her right hand, and took Lan Lan from the hands of the early-stage dark water cultivator. Following that, a scene that made everyone stunned and incredulous flashed before their eyes in horror. Lin Ruashi gently reached out and took Lan Lan, and the early-stage dark water cultivator's face revealed a look of fear, pain, and unwillingness. The cultivator didn't move and didn't speak. He just watched as Lin Ruashi handed over the child. The moment Lin Ruashi carried Lan Lan, her left hand casually drew a semicircle behind her, comfortable and natural. In the next moment, the early-stage dark water cultivator's head fell to the ground, and blood splattered 7 feet. How is this possible? Sorrowless and Sorrowless, as well as the other two dark water cultivators, were all dumbfounded. They couldn't understand why a woman without any cultivation could kill the early-stage dark water cultivator with one move, and that cultivator didn't even resist. Why do you have to be killed for nothing? There was no energy fluctuation, not even a true essence fluctuation. Even the women present were shocked, as if they had seen an illusion. At this moment, Lin Ruoshi was like a huge mystery. Even if it was Yang Chun, he wouldn't be able to make a cultivator in the early Ming water stage stand still and wait to be killed, right? Lin Ruoshi didn't care, as if she didn't cut off the head. At this moment, she held her daughter and kissed Lanlin's face. She looked at the place where she was hit with a little pain and softly said, "I told you to listen to Mommy. Don't run around. Be good in the future, or you will be beaten by bad people, understand?" Lanlon nodded obediently, pointed at Sorrowless, and pouted, "Mommy, that bad person beat Lanlon. Yes, Mommy knows." Lin Ruoshi held the child in one hand and held a dagger in the other and walked toward Sorrowless. As a middle-stage dark water cultivator, Sorrowless wanted to retreat subconsciously, but he didn't know why he couldn't take a step, and his whole body was trembling. He held a brown flying sword in his hand, which was also an upper-grade magic weapon, but at this moment, it didn't give him any confidence. Sorrowless was sweating, and his breathing was rapid. He wanted to speak, but he didn't know why he couldn't open his mouth. He finally realized why the cultivator didn't resist just now, because at this moment his body, throat, and even the true qi in his dantian were all suppressed, and he couldn't resist at all. This was a huge pressure that he had never felt before. He didn't know how to explain it, but he was sealed. Lin Ruoshi had unknowingly walked in front of him, but Sorrowless could do nothing but show horror and despair in his eyes. The woman's hand didn't hesitate at all, and after gently drawing a semicircle arc, the dignified eldest son of the Shao family, who used to be the master of the Shao family, was beheaded. In a short period of time, Lin Ruoshi had already cut off the heads of two dark water cultivators, and there was not even a trace of blood on her body, and there was even no blood on the dagger because the speed was too fast. The chubby little girl immediately clapped her hands and shouted, "Mommy is so powerful." The women were not as heartless as little Lanlon. Is she really Sister Ruoshi? Jinxiu swallowed her saliva. Yes. Kai Ning squinted and said with a dignified look, but maybe not. Lin Ruoshi didn't care about the voices behind her and looked at Sorrowless and the remaining two cultivators with cold eyes. With light steps, Lin Ruoshi walked past Sorrowless and the two cultivators leisurely, as if she was bringing along a gust of wind. The arc of the dagger was perfect like the golden ratio, like a transparent silk thread passing through gracefully and crossed the vulnerable throats of the three people. Chapter 1570. Three heads, without exception, fell to the ground with their eyes wide open. Even at this moment, none of them resisted. They died with their eyes wide open because they didn't even have the chance to activate their true energy shield and fight back. This kind of stupid death made them, as the proud descendants of a Shao family, unable to lift their heads even if they become ghosts. Lin Ruoshi had already tossed the dagger back to Jinxiu. She reached out to support the unconscious Wang Ma and walked towards the public girl. Seeing everyone's shocked and fearful eyes, Lin Ruoshi smiled gently. "What's wrong? It shouldn't be a problem to kill these people." "Ruoshi, your cultivation. What's going on?" Xiangwei couldn't help but ask. Lin Ruoshi handed Mother Wang to see Yao Qiqing. She pondered for a while and shook her head. "I don't know, I just thought that I can't let the child get hurt. Then I did it. It was the same when I was kidnapped. The girls couldn't believe it was so simple." The strange scene they saw with their own eyes was too shocking. However, looking at Lin Ruoshi, it didn't seem like she was lying. It was as if women did everything so casually. Suddenly thinking of something, Lin Ruoshi said to Yao Qiqing, "Qinger, you don't blame me for killing your biological father, right?" Yao Qiqing looked at the lifeless head with mixed feelings and shook her head. "It's his fault. No one can be blamed." Lin Ruoshi nodded and carried Lanlon back to the house. for the chubby little girl. The meal was only half finished, but the others didn't have the mood to eat anymore. Jinxiu looked at her red pearl dagger in a daze and whispered to herself, "This dagger can be so powerful. It's a good dagger, but the person using it is the key," Kai Ning said with mixed feelings. The over-gods and cultivators fighting on the sea had no way of knowing what was happening on the island. The war had already reached its peak. The white-hot battlefield was filled with violent true essence and scattered space fragments, as if it had formed a sea of death. The sea god domain condensed into an omnidirectional barrier of seawater that had no blind spots, still obstructing the path of the cultivators. The roaring and biting sea dragon set off monstrous waves. Dark blue seawater poured down from the sky, surging and chasing after the figures of the cultivators, easily destroying the true essence barrier condensed by the cultivators. Although Luo Pingqiao and Luo Qinxiu were holding Poseidon back, Apollo and Artemis had already killed more than 20 cultivators with their divine bows, including several weak water stage cultivators. Looking at the three great clans, out of the hundreds of people who came, there were only less than 20 elders who were at the weak water stage and above. Luo Qinxiu, Xiao Mingyu, Ning Zhengfeng, and the others were all extremely anxious. These were the elites of the hidden clans, and many of them were even close relatives of the royal family. Now that they had died, not only would they not be able to face their family members when they returned, but Hongmeng would also seize the opportunity to suppress them. They had originally come to kill Yang Cheng and his family in an aggressive manner, but they did not expect to die before they succeeded. They had all died in this vast ocean. After a few more cloud-piercing purple lightning were dodged by Poseidon's space law, Luo Qinxiu's expression was extremely solemn. He transmitted his voice to Luo Pingqiao. "Father, if this continues, we will lose sooner or later. Their space laws are slightly above our cultivation. Our attacks won't have much of an effect, and our true essence will become increasingly weak." Luo Pingqiao was controlling the Jade Sea Sword, using endless sword waves to fight with Apollo. His body was surrounded by flowing blue sword light, like a blooming blue chrysanthemum. But almost none of the sword light could get within 3 feet of the Lord God, because the space law had already cut off the sword light and sent it to another dimension. Seeing that although his attacks were sharp, but still unable to harm the gods, Luo Pingqiao was powerless. "We did not prepare enough. We were careless. Qinxiu, for now, I will break through this barrier of water. All of you follow immediately." "Father, are you going to—" Luo Qinxiu frowned, as if thinking of a terrible situation. Luo Pingqiao transmitted his voice. "Don't worry, at most we will just rest for 3 months. With you here, the Luo family will have a backbone. If I do not act, when the other celestials come, we will definitely not be able to escape." With that, Luo Pingqiao suddenly retracted his sword chi. After getting rid of a dozen roaring sea dragons, he roared angrily, and a dark red mist appeared around his body. All of a sudden, Luo Pingqiao's true core energy seemed to explode. His whole body's muscle lines began to expand and deepen, bursting out the robe on his upper body, revealing the bronze-colored muscles with blue veins popping out. The 3 Lord gods, Poseidon, Apollo, and Artemis, who had been steadily suppressing the 20 or so cultivators, sensed that something was wrong with Luo Pingqiao's body and subconsciously retreated a little. The divine fire of the sun and moonlight selectively rushed towards Luo Pingqiao, but the moment they entered the spreading blood-red mist, they were dispersed. Not only that, but large amounts of red and blue sword chi, which was even more powerful than Tide Listener, began to shoot out from the blood mist. It was like a sky full of light, shooting towards the 3 Lord gods. This time, although the space law had blocked most of the attacks, the 3 Lord gods realized that they could not block all of them. There would always be some sword chi around them, and if they were not careful, they would be hurt. As a result, the attacks of the Lord gods were greatly reduced, and the cultivators finally heaved a sigh of relief. "What kind of spell is this?" Poseidon kept dodging, frowning as he asked. It seems to be a secret spell that can instantly strengthen one's cultivation, Artemis said with a frown. His power is constantly increasing. I didn't expect him to have such a trick up his sleeve. I underestimated them. His true inner chi is now at least 30% stronger than before, Apollo said. Not only were the three Lord gods stunned, but the other cultivators also hurriedly looked over. Luo Pingchao's body seemed to have started to expand, and he was more than a head taller, reaching a height of more than 2 meters. His entire body was enveloped in the blood mist, and he looked like a bloody warrior. What made people feel even more pressured was that his pair of eyes had already turned into a white light, like a white flame burning fiercely. Pingchao, Luo Changchun cried out in pain when he saw his son use this move. Could it be the ultimate skill of the Luo family's Luotian Sutra, Brahma, Heavenly Lord? Ning Zhengfeng exclaimed. As the master of the Ning family, he was very knowledgeable, and he remembered the legendary ultimate skill of the Luo family. The reason why it was legendary was because this Brahma Heavenly Lord was a super killer move that could injure the enemy 1,000 times and oneself 800 times. The side effects were very severe, and no one had heard of it being used in the past 1,000 years. This move was a special way of using Luo Tian Sutra's true inner chi. It used the cultivator's blood as fuel, and it burned rapidly, including the blood and bones in them. The burning of the blood would cause the true inner chi in the dantian to suddenly increase, and the density and purity of the true inner chi would also greatly increase. The best effect would be to increase one's strength by 50 to 60%. A cultivator's blood contained a large amount of spiritual chi, and the stronger the cultivator, the more so. However, because of this, if one lost too much blood, they would become relatively weak, and in serious cases, they might lose their cultivation and become a cripple. Therefore, almost all the cultivators below the Tai Ching Heavenly Thunder Tribulation, even if they were at the weak water stage, if they used this move, the best result would be that their cultivation would be greatly reduced. It would be good if they fell to the aqua water stage. Only cultivators above the Tai Ching Heavenly Thunder Tribulation, relying on their physique that had been tempered by the Heavenly Thunder Tribulation, could escape unscathed. However, the worst result was that they might not be able to recover within a year. If they recuperated properly, with the help of a large amount of spirit medicine, they would need about 2 to 3 months to recover. What was even more tragic was that Brahma Heavenly Lord could only maintain it for about 5 minutes. If it dragged on for too long, his blood would be used up, and he would die without a doubt. Therefore, Luo Pingchao didn't plan to rely on the time of Brahma Heavenly Lord to defeat the 3 main gods. There wasn't enough time at all. What he wanted was to escape as soon as possible, so that he could bring everyone back to the illusory realm within 5 minutes. Luo Pingchao raised the jade sea sword high up, and his whole body was shrouded in a blood mist as he roared. Listen to the tide, sword chi. Mad dragon breaks the tide. Rise! The sword light rushed into the sky, like a divine dragon from the 9 heavens, dyed in red and blue. With a roar, Luo Pingchao swung his sword down. Boom! Dozens of sea dragons summoned by Poseidon, who wanted to stop him, were smashed into pieces by this all-out attack. Chapter 1571. Due to the power of the sword, the space was twisted and torn. Under the chaos, the law of space could not form the indestructible sea dragon again. Not to mention those frost arrows that actively attacked Luo Pingchao. They were all shattered and wiped out completely. Poseidon and the other main gods' expressions changed. The Neptune's domain had been split open. An opening was so huge that it looked like the sky had been torn open, revealing the blue sky outside. Get out! Retreat! Following Luo Pingchao's shout, Luo Qinxiu and the others led the cultivators out of the Neptune's domain with wild joy after surviving a disaster. The cultivators who stayed behind were all powerhouses above the weak water stage. Their speed was so fast that they disappeared almost instantly. With Luo Pingchao's dozens of sword light walls blocking them, the 3 main gods did not have time to chase after them. Or rather, they were too lazy to chase after them. After all, It would only take a blink of an eye for the cultivators to fly back to Huaxia at full speed. The smoke from the battle dissipated, and the entire sky above the forgotten kingdom returned to a peaceful state. Poseidon and Apollo did not stay for long. They looked at each other tacitly, looked at the ground below, and went back. On the island, the women sensed that the battle was over and the cultivators had been defeated. They were overjoyed. They did not expect the outcome to be like this. The combat strength of the gods was indeed extraordinary. It was no wonder that Hongming of China did not dare to step out of the country's borders. The experts of the hidden clans had lost close to 100 people, which was a huge blow to their strength. The ordinary people on the island thought that a miracle had happened. Many people came out to worship the heavens and the earth, thanking the gods. They did not know what had happened. For a time, everything was peaceful again. In the evening, Yang Cheng, who had returned late from Shanshan, finally returned to the island with Yulanting, Yuan Hong, and Yu Qiun, the three powerhouses of the Green Hill clan. When he sensed the traces of battle on the island, Yang Cheng immediately found the women and asked what had happened. When he found out that a huge battle had happened when he left, he could not help but tremble in fear. Fortunately, the gods had recovered quite a bit of their strength. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster. The women were also eager to tell Yang Cheng what had happened, but when they saw the three charming women of the Green Hill clan brought by Yang Cheng, they felt a little strange and looked at their man suspiciously. Yang Cheng knew that the women had misunderstood him again, so he had to stop them first. He smiled bitterly and said, "Let's go back to the castle. We can talk about it slowly. It's not what you think." He didn't know that for Yulanting and the other two women, the fact that Yang Cheng had so many female confidants shocked them even more. They had thought that a powerhouse like Yang Cheng would have spent a lot of time and effort on cultivation in order to have such achievements. They didn't expect that he still had the time to be with so many women. It could be said that he had subverted their understanding of human cultivators. When everyone arrived at the castle, Yang Cheng introduced Yulanting and the other two women one by one. He also told them about the desolate land. When the women found out that these three beauties, who seemed to have their own merits, were actually the demons that people traditionally knew, they were a little astonished. They didn't expect that the Meng clan's background, the desolate land, would actually have such a background. During the conversation, the gazes of the three women were focused on Anshin most of the time, which made Anshin feel a little strange. Yang Cheng also noticed this. He didn't introduce the three women to which woman was Anshin, but they were able to tell at a glance. It could be seen that his previous guess was most likely going to be confirmed. "Miss Anshin." Yulanting finally stood up, walked in front of Anshin, and said, "May I ask, do you have any brothers or sisters in your family?" Everyone looked at Yulanting in surprise. They didn't know what the leader of the demon sect meant. Anshin was also stunned for a moment. She shook her head and said, "I am an only daughter, oh. Then may I ask, is your mother or father still alive?" Yulanting asked again. A trace of sadness flashed through Anshin's eyes. She shook her head and said, "They've all passed away." "Then do your parents have any brothers or sisters? Do you know where they are?" Anshin frowned. She looked at Yang Cheng and said, "Hubby, why did she suddenly ask me these things?" Although she had always been very amiable, she also had a temper. How could she be happy to be stared at for no reason, and, even more strangely, to be asked to check her family tree? Yang Cheng smiled bitterly and said, "Darling Anshin, don't be anxious. Actually, the main reason why sect leader you came with me was because of you." "For me?" Anshin looked at Yulanting in puzzlement. Yulanting pursed her lips and smiled. Then, she slowly explained the cause of the matter. When it came to the relationship between Yin and Yang, many of the women present blushed. Only then did they realize that Anshin's breakthrough was not a coincidence. She had that kind of innate condition. Anshin suddenly found it hard to accept. She was actually a descendant of a human and the Green Hill clan? "Miss Anshin, you may not be able to feel it, but we are all pure-blooded members of the Green Hill clan. We can feel the aura of our clan's Heavenly Fox bloodline in you. You must be a descendant of our noblest Heavenly Fox clan. Your bloodline has been awakened. In the near future, Your cultivation will become more and more efficient. Congratulations on becoming a member of our noble Green Hill clan. Yulanting and the other two ladies smiled and looked at an Xian warmly. After Anshin recovered from her shock, she could not help but ask worriedly, Then will I be able to transform into a fox's tail and ears? Will I turn into a fox? As she said this, Anshin looked like she was about to cry. This was undoubtedly difficult for a woman to accept. Yulanting and the other women smiled. However, they had already expected such a situation, so they immediately explained to Anshin. In fact, Anshin did not have to worry about this. Although her bloodline had been awakened, Anshin was a human after all. Unlike the other members of the Green Hill clan who were demon foxes, it was difficult for her to grow a tail. Having the bloodline of the heavenly fox was only beneficial. There was almost no harm. Only then did Anshin feel relieved. She still had some lingering fear, but she did not care about suddenly becoming a member of the Green Hill clan. Yulanting and the others actually wanted to get closer to Anshin. If Anshin was alone, it would be a problem whether she would come to recognize her. In fact, many of the elders of the Green Hill clan did not think much of a descendant of a human and the Green Hill clan. However, she was Yang Cheng's woman, so the significance was different. Even if Anshin was not willing, they had to get closer to each other. After Anshin's matter was settled, they continued to talk about the attack of the hidden family. When Yang Cheng heard that the three main gods, Apollo, Artemis, and Poseidon, defeated the enemy, he could not help but be surprised. He also felt that Hades' divine spark was much stronger than before, but his understanding of the law of space was not as good as the first Hades, so he might just barely be at the same level as Ruoshue Peak. But Apollo and the others, who could beat Luo Chinchio, were at least in the grand pyramidal stage. Sure enough, the power of Gaia's heart was unfathomable. Gaia's heart. Gaia's heart. As Yang Chun thought of this, he suddenly remembered that the global temperature had been dropping recently. Thinking of this, it seemed that the beginning of the recovery of Gaia's heart was the period before the global cooling, not much different. Could it be that Gaia's heart caused the global cooling? Jane said that solar energy had been stolen before it entered the Earth's atmosphere. Perhaps it was eaten by Gaia's heart? Although Yang Cheng still did not know what the role of Gaia's heart was, and the other main gods were also vague about it, but the more Yang Cheng thought about it, the more he felt that it was related. Yang Cheng couldn't help but worry. If that was the case, would Gaia's heart keep eating solar energy? The women saw Yang Cheng suddenly in a daze, and they were a little puzzled. "Husband, what are you thinking about?" Lu Mingyu tugged at Yang Cheng's sleeve and asked. Yang Cheng came back to his senses, and his eyes just met Lin Ruoshi's eyes, just in time to see that Lin Ruoshi was looking at him with her usual cold and silent eyes. A complicated look flashed in Yang Cheng's eyes, and he turned his head to Lu Mingyu and the others to indicate that it was nothing. Then he pondered for a while, and finally raised his head and asked Lin Ruoshi, "Wife, how did you suddenly control Sorrowless and the others and kill them? Can you tell me in detail?" This question was actually what the women were wondering in their hearts, but they did not have the courage to ask in detail. They always felt that the current Lin Ruoshi was a little strange. At this time, Yang Cheng also mentioned it, and everyone subconsciously waited for Lin Ruoshi to answer. Chapter 1572. Lin Ruoshi sat quietly on her seat, holding a steaming cup of fragrant Blue Mountain. When she heard Yang Cheng's question and saw that all the girls were staring at her, she calmly took a sip and lightly put it down. After a moment of silence, Lin Ruoshi said in a clear voice, "I've said it before, I don't know either. It's just that I was angry when Lan Lan was captured by them, so wanted to kill them. As for why I could make them not fight back, I don't know how I did it. I just wanted them to not move and let me cut off their heads. That way, it would be over as soon as possible. Also, I don't know why the first choice in my mind was to ask Shinshio for a dagger. All of this was my subconscious judgment, and I can't explain anymore." Lin Ruoshi spoke very sincerely, and it was impossible to tell that she was deliberately hiding anything. The woman's face even showed a trace of fatigue, and she felt powerless to explain to everyone's doubts. After Yang Chung heard this, he silently looked at the woman for a while, and then smiled lightly. Since you can't understand, then don't think about it. As long as you and the child are fine. After saying that, Yang Chung stood up and said to Yulanting and the other two women, Sect Master Yu, the people from the hidden family have already come to bully my women and children. It's time for me to go find them. Before that, I have something to ask of the three of you. Yulanting thought of something, and then said with a bitter expression, Young Master Yang, it's not that we're untrustworthy, it's just that we've broken the rules since ancient times and attacked the illusion. It will bring about a great disaster. Yang Chung waved his hand and said with a smile, Sect Master, you has misunderstood. I alone am enough to go to the illusion realm. I'm just worried about my family on the island. Although there is a Master God, if Sect Master you and the others are here, it will definitely be safe. After all, Yulanting was an expert at the peak of the Tai Ching realm. The strength of a seven-tailed sky fox was definitely much stronger than that of a human at the peak of the Tai Ching realm. Therefore, Yang Chung hoped that she could temporarily be the women's bodyguard. In this way, he could go to the dreamland without any worries. Presumably, the Lord God wouldn't have any hostility towards the three women. After all, he was the one who kept them. When Yulanting and the other two women heard this, they felt that the conditions were quite good. It was not a big deal for them to stay on the island for a while, and it was rare for them to come out and see the outside world. Moreover, it was ideal for Yang Chung to owe them a favor. As a result, the three of them quickly agreed. Yulanting said that she would bring Wan Hong and Chiyun to stay on the island for a while and wait for Yang Chung to return. In their opinion, with Yang Cheng's strength, it was impossible for him to flatten the three great clans, but it should not be a problem for him to escape unscathed after a massacre. When the women heard Yang Chung say that he wanted to go to the fantasy realm and massacre the hidden families, they couldn't help but tremble in fear. But since Yang Chung had made a decision, they couldn't stop him. What's more, the hatred of the hidden families had been irreconcilable. Taking advantage of this time's great loss of vitality, it was a good opportunity to return the favor, lest they recover and do more terrible things. This time, it was better to come, but if they completely shed all pretense of cordiality and hurt their relatives in Huaxia, it would be very bad. After Yang Chung arranged things properly, he left again, but he didn't go directly to the dreamland. Yang Chung made 2 phone calls, but found that no one answered. In a flash, Yang Chung had arrived at an empty peak in the European Alps. At this time, the snow-covered mountains were blowing fierce mountain winds, and the biting cold temperature made ordinary mountaineers flinch. Because it was night, there was no one here. Yang Cheng's face sank, and he suddenly unsealed and used a space cut, cutting a mountain with a radius of tens of feet. Boom! A collapse was accompanied by an avalanche, and layers of snow rolled out, causing a tremor in the mountain range. Not long after, 4 space doors opened in the night sky, and Stern, Alice, Poseidon, and Prince Raphael of the Blood Clan, Hermes, walked out one by one. When the 4 main gods saw that only Yang Chung was there, they suddenly understood that Yang Chung unsealed the law of space on purpose to attract their attention, so that they would come over. Hades, you suddenly unsealed in the middle of the night, and there's no need to fight. It's not good to break the treaty of gods like this. Hermes smiled evilly. Yang Chung glanced at the 4 main gods and smiled meaningfully. Treaty of gods? That thing no longer has any meaning to exist. Hades, what do you mean? Artemis frowned. Yang Chung snorted coldly. The Treaty of Gods was made to prevent the cultivators of Huaxia and the God clan from hurting each other. But that was in the past, and both sides had their own trump cards to resist. But now, the recovery of Gaia's heart has made the power of the main gods unprecedentedly strong, and it's increasing day by day. If this goes on, or should I say now, the power of the gods has already surpassed the cultivators of Huaxia, then is there still a need for this **T treaty? Facts have proven that today, Apollo, Artemis, and Poseidon, the 3 of you have taken care of the elites of the 3 hidden families of Huaxia. Don't think that I don't know. Hermes, your residence is closer than theirs. If you don't come, It can only be because you believe that the three of them are enough, and you don't need to do anything, right? Hermes smiled evilly. That's right, what's wrong with that? I'm a blood clan. I'm more sleepy during the day. Stop joking. All of you, do you think I'm a fool? With your strength, that group of cultivators doesn't know, but I have a divinity like you, and now that I'm so close to you, I'm very clear about your approximate level. If it was a battle like during the day, if all four of you attacked, that group of cultivators wouldn't have had a chance to escape. You could have killed them all. Why did you deliberately let them go? Yang Cheng questioned angrily. Hades, are you blaming us for making a mistake? Your family should be fine. Apollo spread his hands and said helplessly. Yang Cheng narrowed his eyes. Are you still playing dumb? I thought you were my friends, but now it seems that each of you is hiding something important from me. You must be plotting something that I don't know about. Dear Hades, don't make wild guesses. You are our companion, Artemis advised. Yang Chun burst into laughter. Companions? Well, since we are companions, can you tell me why I can't contact Aphrodite and Ares? Where do they go? The four main gods were silent, their expressions strange, and none of them said a word. Poseidon, you are in Hawaii, which is further away from here than Ares, but you could still rush to the island to fight. With Ares' character, it's impossible for him not to participate in the battle. The only possibility that he didn't come is that he has other important things to deal with. Tell me, am I right? Yang Cheng asked Poseidon. The burly sea god king was still calm. His sharp eyes met Yang Cheng's without fear, and he said lightly, I'm not sure about their matters. Yang Cheng knew this would happen, so he said straightforwardly, it must be related to Gaia's heart, right? The four main gods were silent again. No one had the intention to speak. Yang Cheng said to himself, I was just guessing before, but now I can almost be sure that Gaia's heart is behind the global cooling. When Athena found Gaia's heart, Apollo and Artemis, you two were talking so strangely. It seems that you have expected this day to come. Hades, Apollo couldn't bear to say it, but he frowned and kept his mouth shut. Yang Cheng sneered, don't be embarrassed. Even if you don't say it, I can guess. It's mostly related to Athena. I don't know what she wants to do, nor do I know what you guys are plotting. But it better not be something that I dislike, otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. At this point, Yang Cheng's eyes were full of murderous intent. It was eerie and terrifying, like a nightmare in the sky. In a howling cold wind, no one spoke for a while. After a long time, Hermes suddenly stepped on the void and came to Yang Cheng's side. The corner of his mouth raised as he said, Hades, I believe what you said, but don't forget what I said to you that day. I know you don't want to believe it, but if one day what I said is the truth, then you have to remember every word you said today. I'm looking forward to it. Chapter 1573. After saying these words in a gloomy manner, Hermes turned into a dark shadow, twisting his figure in the night sky before disappearing. Yang Cheng's expression was uncertain. His eyes flashed with a painful struggle, but it gradually calmed down. He looked a little lonely. Apollo and Artemis looked at each other, sighed softly, and left quietly. Poseidon looked at Yang Cheng for a while and said lightly, Don't think too highly of yourself, young man. It's good to have a temper, but it depends on who the other party is. Sometimes, overconfidence is stupidity. After saying this, Poseidon also disappeared into the darkness. Yang Cheng clenched his fists. After standing in the night sky for a long time, he let out a long sigh. He felt a little tired, not in his body, but in his heart. Could it be that what he had done was really, as that arrogant woman had said, that the future will not change? Was her life really as she had foreseen? Was everything destined from the start? Then what he was doing now, did it follow her wishes from time to time? However, if the future will not change, then was the choice he made at the last minute also within her predictions? No one could tell him whether it was right or wrong, and no one would tell him, because, at present, her strength stood at the highest point, and no one could disobey her. What did she want to do? What would happen if Gaia's heart kept absorbing the energy of the sun? Yang Cheng felt that his brain was about to explode, but he could not find a way out. It was as if a large hand from the unseen world had grabbed hold of him and treated him like a puppet, playing with him at will. However, the feeling of helplessness was driving him crazy. The people that he thought were allies and friends suddenly became like he had never known them before. Or was it that compared to the tens of thousands of years of life and experience of the gods, he was really just a fledgling who had always been playing with him? Yang Chung shook his head and did not think too much about it. He could not care about Gaia's heart and Athena now. The hidden family in the illusion was a big problem. If he did not take action now, he was afraid that he would have to prepare something else to make a comeback. His figure flashed, and he flew straight to the east. Not long ago, in the central region of the illusory realm, the All Heavens Island, where Hongmeng was located here. If one were to look at it from afar, they would be able to witness the uncanny craftsmanship left behind by the ancient immortals. The floating formations were supported by flashing, faint golden runes, steadily hovering in the air. Borrowing the spiritual energy of the illusion, it had been operating like this for tens of thousands of years. On the island, there were flowers, plants, trees, mountains, rivers, and everything that one could think of. Water flowed down from a water spirit gathering formation at the edge of Heaven's Vault Island and flowed into the rivers below. Like blue and white ribbons, waterfalls of different sizes hung from the Earth rank all the way to the Mystic rank and the Earth rank. The number of yellow rank ones was the highest, and the higher the rank, the lesser the number. On the uppermost level, Heaven's Vault Island, there was only a lone floating island. High up in the sky above Heaven's Vault Island was a huge golden formation that stretched as far as the eye could see. This huge formation was guarded by Hongmeng as a mission. It imprisoned the ancient demons, including the leader of the gods, Zeus, the heavenly king of heaven. The 12 heavens, celestial demon formation. Whether or not this was the original name of the formation was no longer known. The ancient immortals had spent countless wonderful ideas and divine powers to create this huge formation. The complexity of it was completely beyond the imagination of modern cultivators. Even those cultivators who had fought against the gods 20,000 years ago had only borrowed the shadow of the ancient immortals. They were also incomparably respectful of this huge formation. Without this huge formation, they would only have ended up being slaughtered by Zeus and Athena. However, ever since Zeus had been taken in 20,000 years ago, there had been no movement from the huge formation. No one knew how the huge formation worked. Even those ancestors from 20,000 years ago had not passed down any method to activate this huge formation. Hongmeng's guards were only on paper. The heaven rank elders of Hongmeng's Heaven's Vault Island had no way of knowing how to use this huge formation. This secret was only known to some of the big shots in the upper echelons of Hongmeng. This was because it was not something to be proud of. The so-called mission of guarding the huge formation was actually just to set up camp right below the huge formation. If not for this, they would not have been able to fight evenly with the hidden clans. After all, even Zeus could not break through the huge seal formation. Those cultivators of the hidden clans would definitely not be able to defeat it. The 12 heavens celestial demon formation was independent, silent, and dignified. It was like a heavenly eye left behind by the ancient immortals, watching over the descendants of the cultivators below. It let them know at all times that their survival still depended on their ancestors. Compared to their ancestors, they were insignificant and weak. In the center of Heaven's Vault Island, surrounded by a large area of green trees, there was an antique pavilion with dragon carvings and painted rafters. Clouds and mist floated in the air, making it look like a fairyland. And in the center of this pavilion was a spacious, high platform made of blue stone. The high platform was surrounded by 12 huge stone pillars that were 3 feet wide. These stone pillars did not look impressive, but they were black mystic stones that ordinary magic treasures could not move at all. This was the meeting place of Heaven's Vault Island's elders. There were dozens of heaven-rank elders on Heaven's Vault Island. Only the top 12 elders had the right to stand on these 12 black mystic stone pillars. This was also the center of power in Hongmeng. At this moment, there were already many Hongmeng cultivators standing on the high platform and the surrounding empty space. Hundreds of Hongmeng cultivators were mostly Earth rank elders and a large number of mystic rank deacons. These people were qualified to attend some important meetings, but other than that, they could not enter Heaven's Vault Island as they pleased. This time, it attracted a large number of Hongmeng cultivators because of the few distinguished guests on the high platform. The crowd discussed and pointed at the people on the high platform, but they did not dare to speak too loudly. They were a little afraid of these guests. Of course, there were also some nobles in Hongmeng who disdained to lower their status like ordinary Hongmeng cultivators. They each stood in their own positions and proudly held their heads high. Among them, Yin Feiyun, the eldest son of the younger generation of the Hongmeng Yin family, was standing together with his younger sisters, Yin Feiyu and Yin Feiling. The three siblings of the Yin family did not look too good, especially Yin Feiyun and Yin Feiyu. They stared at someone on the stage with a bone-chilling look in their eyes. Brother Feiyun, with your status, you should be familiar with these people on the stage. I just entered the Earth rank not long ago. I wonder which one of you is Luo Qinxiu, the head of the Luo family who has passed the Tai Qing Heavenly Lightning Tribulation. An agitated, skinny, middle-aged man approached Yin Feiyun and asked carefully. This cultivator in the final phase of the Kuei water stage was a newly promoted Earth rank elder called Zhou Yi. He liked to ask about all kinds of things and was good at flattering others. It was said that he had been promoted by flattering a heaven rank elder by chance. After entering the Earth rank, he knew that Yin Feiyun was the eldest son of Yin Wuchen, one of the 4 heaven rank elders, so he immediately went to Yin Feiyun's side. At first, Yin Feiyun did not care about him at all. However, this clown always praised him, so he just let him be. However, Yin Feiyun naturally did not have a good attitude towards such people. He glanced at him and sneered. Don't you know how to sense the pressure of their true essence? Do you even need to ask? As he spoke, his gaze coldly locked onto the middle-aged cultivator with fluttering black hair on the high platform. It was Luo Qinxiu. I'm really ashamed. I can't compare to Brother Feiyun's courage. I don't even dare to use my divine sense to investigate. Zhou Yi smiled and asked, Brother Feiyun, can you tell me about the background of those people? I don't believe what others say, but after all, Brother Feiyun is the one who is truly knowledgeable. Yin Feiyun snorted and said, Other than Luo Qinxiu, the other 3 are also among the top 10 experts of the illusion realm. The one in blue is the head of the Shao family, Shao Mengyu. The one in white is the head of the Ning family, Ning Zhengfeng, and the sinister old ghost is an elder of the Ning family, Yin Shouji. Yin Shouji, one of the top 10 experts in the illusion realm. Is that old man who looks like a beggar? Zhou Yi was stunned. He really didn't know about this. Chapter 1574. The old people in the illusion, or those who were familiar with the illusion, would know that the so-called top 10 experts were not the real top 10 experts. They were just the 10 experts who had been more active in the past few decades, or who were relatively famous. Ning Zhengfeng was the master of the Ning family and had the immortal weapon Tai Long Tassel. His combat power was comparable to the late weak water stage. There was also Shao Mengyu, who was at the middle weak water stage, and Luo Qinxiu, who could suppress everyone else. But after all, this was an extraordinary title. At least more than 99% of the cultivators in the illusion would definitely look up to it. Yin Shouji was the first to become famous among the top 10 masters. Rumor had it that he was a Grand Supreme Elder recruited by the previous master of the Ning family. He lived on the Yinshou mountain all year round, and the mountain was named after him. His cultivation was at the peak of the weak water realm, and he was also one of the best in the illusory realm. But such a person was wearing a tattered gray-black robe with a few patches on it. His hair was also disheveled. His face was thin and bony, and his eyes were sunken. That old man was actually a master at the peak of the weak water stage. He looked like he was going to die at any time. Yin Feiyun saw Zhou Yi's shocked face and said disdainfully, "Look at your little knowledge. You only care about appearances. That's the end." Although Luo Qinxiu should be ranked first among the top 10 masters, if he and Yin Shouji were to fight to the death, it's not certain who would win. Ning Zhengfeng was actually willing to invite him out of the mountain. It seems like this time is really a matter of life and death. Zhou Yi was even more shocked. Brother Feiyun, what do you mean? He originally wanted to curry favor with Yin Feiyun and ask a few questions, but now he was really interested. It seemed that Yin Shoji was not an ordinary person. But at this time, Yin Feiyun did not speak, and a large number of cultivators present also lowered their voices. This was because more than a dozen powerful auras were approaching from all directions, and figures finally fell into the eyes of the cultivators. The Heaven Stage elders are here. They're finally here. I wonder why the masters of the 3 hidden clans are looking for the elders. Sigh. Let's just listen quietly. Our Hongming has always been at odds with the hidden clans. If it's not something big, why would we come to Heaven's Vault Island to talk? Along with the whispers of the cultivators, several figures had already arrived around the high platform one after another. They stood in a dignified manner against the 4 members of the hidden family. There were 8 elders who directly flew up to the 12 black mystic pillars. Although there were 12 heaven rank elders, 4 of them were the most powerful elders in Hongming. They were known as the 4 great elders. After the first 8 heaven-ranked elders arrived on top of the stone pillar, the last 4 who arrived were the ones that the cultivators of Hongming were in awe of. They were the master of the Yin family of Hongming, Yin Wuchen, the leader of the Buddhist cultivators of Hongming, Master Yin Yin, the master of the Yin family of Hongming, Yin Xiaoming, and the leader of the sword cultivators of Hongming, Lu Xiuan. The 4 great elders were all among the top 10 masters in the illusion realm. Their cultivations were all at the peak of the weak water realm. Together with Xiao Mingyu of the Xiao family, Su Xiaogong of the Su family, Ning Zhengfeng, Ning Ruozhu, and In Shoji of the Ning family, and Luo Qinxiu of the Luo family, they formed the top 10 masters. Of course, the difference in strength was also obvious. However, this was also an extremely high evaluation of the masters in the past few decades. Why had the 4 of you come to Hongming's Heaven's Vault Island? The one who spoke first was a solemn and gloomy man dressed in a dark blue Han costume. His hair and beard were gray, but his complexion was like that of a young man. It was Yin Wuchen. Xiao Mingyu, Ning Zhengfeng, and In Shoji did not speak. Everyone's eyes fell on Luo Qinxiu, who had been resting with his eyes closed. He was the only expert in the middle stage of the Tai Ching Divine Lightning. Everyone looked at him with complicated feelings. Luo Qinxiu opened his eyes and said calmly, "Elders, now that things have come to this, why ask so many questions? I don't believe that you don't know why we're here." Hee. How would we know what you're thinking if you don't say it, Patriarch Luo? The one who spoke was a handsome young master dressed in white with fluttering black hair. He was gently waving a coquettish feather fan in his hand. There were all kinds of flowers blooming in full bloom on the fan. It was Yin Xiaoming, one of the 4 great elders. Judging from his appearance, he didn't look like someone who had lived for hundreds of years. Although the 3 great families in Hongming had many disagreements in the past, we are all people of the illusion realm after all. We are of the same breath and branches, and we will not let down our guard against each other. I think Hongming has already received the news that our 3 great families formed 100 elites and went overseas to suppress the traitor Yangcheng. Unfortunately, they were ambushed by 3 over-gods and were defeated. As soon as Luo Qinxiu's words fell, the ordinary cultivators in Hongming were in an uproar. They did not have the authority to know these things, so they were naturally shocked when they found out. Yangcheng's ferocious name was already known by everyone in the illusion realm, but they did not expect that he had angered the 3 great hidden families to the point where they wanted to kill him. How much hatred did they have? Yin Sanyang and Yin Failing, who were standing behind her elder brother and sister, were pale. She had been listening to all kinds of stories about Yangcheng and Hongming. She was worried, but unable to help. She knew that the current Yangcheng was no longer someone she could help, so her hands were trembling as she listened. The heaven rank elders obviously knew about this, so no one was particularly surprised. Ba, may I know what this has to do with the visit of the few benefactors? Master Yin Yun, who had a head of red hair and wore a fiery red kasaya, asked with a benevolent expression on his face after his Buddhist chant suppressed all the noise. Luo Qinxiu took a few steps forward and looked at the elders around him. He smiled lightly and said, "Elders of Heaven's Vault Island, do you still need to hide at this time? You can investigate the internal affairs of our families, and we can also find out a lot about what you have done." As he spoke, Luo Qinxiu glanced at Ning Zhengfeng, indicating for him to continue. Ning Zhengfeng, who was not very tall, smiled amiably and said, "According to our sources in the Ning family, we know that Hongmeng had once hoped that Yang Cheng could be used by Huaxia. However, not only did Yang Cheng reject them, he even killed the special envoy of Hongmeng." Ning Zhengfeng was very careful with his words. He did not say that Hongmeng wanted to recruit Yang Cheng to be used by Hongmeng. Instead, he said for Huaxia. This way, it would highlight that Hongmeng was upright and righteous. If Yang Cheng did not repent and became a demon by killing people, he would not offend the elders of Hongmeng. In addition, Ning Zhengfeng continued, "Right now, the whole world is experiencing an extremely terrifying and continuous cooling. Although it is summer in many areas in the north of Huaxia, it is already like winter. The temperature has reached 0 or even below 0 degrees. And it is precisely at this time that the gods suddenly become extremely powerful. Even old Mr. Luo Pingqiao of the Luo family, who is at the peak of the Tai Ching heavenly lightning tribulation, is unable to defeat any of the sun god and moon god. Thinking about it, it should not be the first time that Hongmeng has seen the methods of the main gods. He should know that this is not the original strength of the gods. This time, the terrifying cooling of the whole world should have a great connection with the increase in the strength of the gods." So much nonsense. Just tell me the result. A cold snort interrupted Ning Zhengfeng's words. The one who spoke was the leader of the sword cultivators, Lu Xiwan. This person was dressed in an elegant blue robe, with sharp eyebrows and a mustache. His expression was cold, and his entire body was like an unsheathed sword, showing off its sharpness. Ning Zhengfeng was interrupted, but he was not angry. He continued to smile and said, "The result is that once the gods become stronger, not only us people in the illusion, but even the entire human race will suffer." Everyone fell silent. Even to the cultivators, these words were a little alarmist. However, the person who said it was the head of the Ning family, so it was impossible for him to be speaking carelessly. Seeing that no one continued to speak, the elders all had strange expressions on their faces. Ning Zhengfeng grinned and said, "Elders of Heaven's Vault Island, I know that you don't feel heartache. Many of the elites of our hidden families have died. However, don't forget that we actually have no grudges with the gods. We only have a blood feud with Yang Cheng. As for you, Hongmeng, you have always stood on the opposite side of the gods. When they feel that the time is right, do you think that they will come to deal with us first, and then you? Ning Zhengfeng, are you threatening our Heaven's Vault Island?" Yin Wuchen narrowed his eyes, and his body emitted a cold aura. At this moment, Luo Qinxiu turned around and replied indifferently, "He is not threatening you, but telling you that if you continue to put on airs, you will die faster than anyone else." Chapter 1575. Preposterous. Who are you calling dignified? Luo Qinxiu, don't think that we're afraid of you, just because you've advanced. If you're so capable, come at me. Lu Xiwan was furious. His robes fluttered even though there was no wind. His ethereal force was like an unsheathed cold sword. Countless colorful swords surrounded his body and whistled. Luo Qinxiu ignored him and didn't move at all. "Elder Lu, now's not the time to fight." Yin Wuchen stopped him and instructed the Hongmeng cultivators present. "Hongmeng cultivators below the heaven rank, leave Heaven Island now." The Hongmeng cultivators were in an uproar. They didn't understand why Yin Wuchen wanted to expel cultivators below the heaven rank. This was a very rare situation. However, the four elders' prestige was unparalleled. Everyone, including Yin Fiyun and those who were related to them, could only leave Heaven Island quietly. Soon, Other than Luo, Qinxiu, and the other three, only the heaven rank elders were left on the platform. When it was quiet, Yin Wuchen said in a deep voice, "Could it be that the three of you came here to seek help from Hongming?" Ning Zhengfeng smiled. "Elder Yin, this isn't just a matter of help. Do you think Hongming can handle a power that even our three clans can't handle? It's not that I'm looking down on Hongming's heaven rank elders, but Brother Qinxiu and his father, old Mr. Luo Pingqiao, are both above the middle stage of Tai Ching Heavenly Thunder. I don't think there's anyone in Hongming who can stop them." Yin Wuchen narrowed his eyes and said, "I admit that the Luo clan leader's cultivation is indeed higher than ours by more than a level, but Hongming has the protection of the 12 heavenly demons formation. Even if the heavenly king Zeus is imprisoned in it, what can they do to me? If you didn't attack the overseas gods' territory, they wouldn't have fought with you. In fact, they didn't dare to offend Huaxia's territory for the past 20,000 years, right? Elder Yin, let's not beat around the bush. Since you've already sent those small fries away, you don't have to bluff," Ning Zhengfeng said with a sneaky smile. Oh, looks like the head of the Ning family knows a lot. Yin Xiaoming covered her face with her feather fan and chuckled. Many of the heaven rank elders present had ugly expressions on their faces. Ning Zhengfeng raised his head and said, "The 12 heaven celestial demon formation was created by the ancient immortals, so it's naturally very powerful. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to trap the ancient demons inside for countless years. However, could the elders of Hongming really control it? Or rather, did they really know how to activate this formation? As far as I know, Hongming's claim to the outside world that they were continuously supplying true essence to the array was just a pretense. The Fiend God Grand Formation has always been absorbing the spiritual chi of the heavens on its own and operating nonstop. How can it rely on people to transport true essence? I'm Hongming's internal affairs. It's not appropriate for the head of the Ning family to make wild guesses," Yin Wuchen said without batting an eyelid. Ning Zhengfeng snorted. "Of course, we also hope that the elders of Hongming can control the formation to defend against the gods. But in the current situation, the elders might have the will, but not the strength." The four elders fell silent. No other elders could bear to speak at this time. In fact, everyone knew that the Luo father and son had been forced back. The strength of the gods had reached a level that they couldn't shake for the time being. If all 11 main gods attacked at once, they might not be able to resist at all. At this time, Luo Qinxiu's body slowly rose and stood in the air at the same height as the 12 elders. At this point, there's only one way to go. You guys, don't tell me you still can't let go of your pride? The heaven rank elders had strange expressions, as if Luo Qinxiu's words touched upon some taboo, making them very nervous. Master Yin Yun was the first to speak, breaking the dead silence. "Amiba, almsgiver Luo, at the end of the day, what you're looking for isn't the cultivators of Hongming, but the 2 array guardians." At the mention of the 3 words array guardian, the atmosphere on Sky Vault Island became especially heavy. The eyes of Luo Qinxiu, Ning Zhengfeng, and the others flickered with excitement. It seems that the array guardians are indeed related to Hongming. That's right, after all, you call yourselves the guardians of Huaxia, so you're closer to them. The corners of Luo Qinxiu's mouth curled up. Ning Zhengfeng also slowly floated up and said with emotion, "I've only heard of it from my ancestors and have never seen it before. I only know that the 2 array guardians are the true guardians of the Great Formation. Their cultivation bases are extremely high, and they're unfathomable. Unless Huaxia is in danger of being destroyed, they won't easily make a move. The only trace of the 2 great array guardians is that they come from the Yang family and the family of the 4 great clans of the secular world. Therefore, any force in the cultivation world has to give some face to the Yang and the families of the secular world. Ever since I entered the Ning family, I didn't dare to let the branches of the Ning family in the secular world make things difficult for the Yang family and Li family. Although I didn't completely believe in the existence of the array guardians, I kept quiet out of fear and didn't dare to look down on the teachings of my ancestors. Now, it seems that I've done the right thing. Fortunately, I didn't directly attack the Yang family, Enli family. If the two array guardians really exist, with the inheritance of the Yang family, Enli family, the two of them would at least have a lifespan of more than 1,000 years. The array guardians have never shown their true faces, and we have never seen them before. The rumors about the two of them have always been illusory, and we don't know how to get in touch with the two of them. If you want to ask for help from the two of them, coming to us is a complete waste of effort. You'd better go back as soon as possible. Yin Wuchen said coldly. Ning Jingfeng said proudly, Elder Yin, you're underestimating the operations of the Ning family in the secular world. Do you really think that we don't know anything? The one who Hongming has direct contact with in the secular world is the general of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, and the one who is above Hongming and the general is the #1 chief, because behind him is the Array Guardian, right? Many of the heaven-ranked elders' expressions changed, and many of them looked surprised. It was obvious that Ning Zhengfeng knew these secrets, and they found it hard to believe. In fact, the number of dynasties that Huaxia had been through was countless, and the latest Huaxia government was established less than 100 years ago. In other words, the people that the Array Guardians supported in different eras were not the same batch, and not all emperors would be favored by the Array Guardians. Those who were favored by the Array Guardians were usually those who had a humble heart, and were capable people who came to support Huaxia. For example, the current #1 chief, if it wasn't for the fact that he was willing to die of old age, illness, and had enough wisdom to help Huaxia develop, and had no ambition, the Array Guardians might not have stood by his side. The Array Guardians and their supporters have always been above Hongming. If you didn't know who the supporters were from the beginning, why would you be willing to hand Huaxia to #1 and not concentrate power in the hands of the general? Therefore, the elders of Hongming must know this background. From this, it can also be inferred that the Array Guardians must have some connection with Hongming. Ning Zhengfeng deduced one by one, and continued, the current government of Huaxia has only been around for less than 100 years, and many of the elders have lived for hundreds of years. Could it be that, in the past 100 years, the Array Guardians have been in contact with you, and you've forgotten about them? That doesn't make sense. You're indeed the head of the Ning family, famous for your wisdom. Head of the Ning family, you really know how to talk. We can't deny it even if we want to. Yin Xiuming chuckled strangely and looked at Yin Wuchen. Elder Yin, it seems like they came prepared. If they don't get permission from the Array Guardians, they're going to rely on us. Yin Wuchen's expression was old-fashioned, and he ignored her and remained silent. How can we meet the Array Guardians so easily? Even if we know of their existence, we don't know how to contact them. Since you know that the Array Guardians are supporting #1, why don't you look for him? Lu Shuan said angrily. We know that we can't meet them. Ning Zhengfeng smiled faintly. In fact, if the Array Guardians really exist with their abilities, they must know what has happened. We're just here to confirm it. And, at the same time, we want to remind the elders of Hongming that if the Array Guardians don't help us hidden families, they might not help Hongming. After all, the Array doesn't rely on you to protect it, and you're essentially no different from us. As for that Yang Cheng, logically speaking, he's the descendant of one of the Array Guardians. Could it be that the Array Guardians will let him do whatever he wants? As he spoke, Ning Zhengfeng raised his head and looked in all directions, as if he was talking to someone in the dark. Chapter 1576. Ning Zhengfeng's every word seemed to strike at the hearts of the Hongming heaven-ranked elders, as if tearing off their old faces. Indeed, they were actually anxious in their hearts, although they had been sitting on the fishing platform and did not really interfere with the conflict between Yangcheng and the hidden families. However, it was not that they did not want to, but they were afraid of getting into trouble. Yangcheng's speed of growth was far beyond their imagination. To be able to stir up the illusory realm with his own strength, this was not something that a 20-year-old kid could do. But he did it. This caught the elders of the illusory realm off guard. By the time they understood that they had to take measures against Yangcheng, Yangcheng had already killed the special envoy, Xianjizi. This kind of humiliation was not something that the high and mighty heaven-ranked elders of Hongming could easily tolerate, but Who's going to get back this face? A madman who could force the Luo family back alone. Could it be that they were really stronger than Luo Qinxiu? Faced with such a predicament, Hong Meng could only put aside the matter of dealing with Yang Cheng again and again. Thus, the current awkward situation appeared. Seeing that no one spoke, Yin Xiaoming, who was gently waving her feather fan, smiled like a woman and said, "It is impossible to ask the array protector to come forward. If those two were willing to help, they would have done so long ago. I am afraid that in their eyes, it does not matter even if our Hong Meng, along with your 3 big families, were all dead." Elder Yin, how can you judge the array protector so rashly? Yin Wuchen frowned. Yin Xiaoming snorted softly. Isn't that so? Judging from the aura that the array protector had secretly released, he was much stronger than the Luo family's patriarch. Why would such an omnipotent person bother to stoop to our level? Luo Qinxiu, Ning Zhengfeng, and the rest's expressions changed. From what she said, it seemed that the array protector had displayed his true yuan pressure in order to convey the instructions to Hongmeng. Stronger than Luo Qinxiu? Could it be that he was already at the Shangqing realm, or even the Jade Qing realm? If it was the Jade Clear realm, it was said that it did not exist 20,000 years ago. However, how exactly Zeus was imprisoned 20,000 years ago was still a mystery to this day. This was because no one had ever seen a scene where someone could activate the 12 Citadel Heavenly Fiend God formation. Therefore, no one could be sure if a Jade Clear Realm cultivator could use the power of the Grand Formation. Just as Elder Yin said, the Guardian of the Array hasn't made a move yet. Clearly, he isn't prepared to stand up for us cultivators in the illusion. We can't just sit here and wait for death. We have to fight for an opportunity to survive. Elders, there's an opportunity before us. As long as Hongmeng joins hands with us hidden families, we can kill Yang Cheng if he dares to enter the illusion. If Hongmeng hesitates and doesn't help us, it will be too late for Yang Cheng to defeat us one by one. Ning Zhengfeng said boldly. Oh, the head of a Ning family was confident that he could kill Yang Cheng? According to what we know, back then, Yang Cheng escaped unscathed even when he was surrounded by the Luo family. Lu Xiwan said in disbelief. The strange old man in the black robe, In Shoji, who had been silent for a long time with his back bent and looked rather wretched, let out a few sinister chuckles. Looks like I haven't shown myself for a long time. Are you treating me as if I don't exist? Many of the heaven-ranked elders frowned. Some of them suddenly thought of something, and their eyes lit up. The 4 great elders all had suspicious looks on their faces. In Shoji, are you really going to make a move? Yin Wuchen asked. At this juncture, if I don't make a move, will you let me live peacefully? Cough, cough. In Shoji coughed violently and shook his hunched back. He smiled and said, Don't worry. With me here, he's not a threat. Ning Zhengfeng smiled generously. Don't worry, everyone. Elder In Shoji has already decided to come out. He's only going to deal with Yang Cheng alone, not all the gods. To Elder In Shoji, it's not too difficult. The group of heaven-ranked elders nodded. It made sense. Based on their estimation of In Shoji's strength, it was about the same. If what you said is true, even if we kill that traitor Yang Cheng, how are we going to deal with the gods? Yin Wuchen asked. Xiao Mengyu, who had been silent all this while, chuckled. Elder Yin, you're thinking too much. In reality, we're not fighting the gods at all. The only one who can really attack the illusion is Yang Cheng. That Yang Cheng destroyed the Azure Emperor's pagoda in our Xiao family and went to the Luo family to massacre them. I believe that when he finds out that we attacked his base, he'll come again. When that time comes, we can use this opportunity to kill him. As for the gods, what they're afraid of is the Formation Protector and the Demon God Formation. They don't take us seriously. Otherwise, they wouldn't have only sent 3 chief gods. Although this was unpleasant to the ears, it made sense. The 4 elders exchanged glances for a while. Finally, Yin Wuchen said, This matter needs to be discussed at length. Yang Cheng has always killed people. If we're not careful, our Hongmeng will be littered with corpses. We need to think carefully before deciding whether or not to make a move. Since the four of you are here, why don't you go to the VIP room on the quiet Lotus Island and rest for a while? When the discussion is over, I'll inform you of our decision in Hongming. Luo Qinxiu and Ning Zhengfeng naturally had no objections. After all, it was a little illogical for Hongming to suddenly ally with the hidden families to fight against the lunatic Yang Cheng. Not to mention all the heaven-ranked elders. Even the four elders might not agree. Therefore, the four of them followed the Hongming deacon to a floating island below Heaven's Vault Island and waited quietly for a response. The quiet Lotus Island, where Hongming received their distinguished guests, was suspended between the Earth-ranked group and Heaven's Vault Island. It was a place with immortal fog and a clear lake. There were a few mahogany houses on the island, which were small residences for the guests to rest. After the four of them entered the VIP room, a few female cultivators from Hongming took some Mao Jian that they had picked from Heaven's Vault Island and left quietly. Luo Qinxiu and Ning Zhengfeng sat down and began to drink tea unhurriedly. In Shoji floated in the air like a cloud of black fog, meditating and conserving his energy. Only Xiao Mingyu paced back and forth unhappily and muttered, "What are these old fellows from Hongming still hesitating for? Yang Cheng has already killed their special envoy and completely ignored their offer of amnesty. When the nest is overturned, no eggs remain intact. Could it be that they think that Yang Cheng won't lay a hand on them? When Yang Cheng continues to grow, will there still be a place for Hongming in the whole of Huaxia? Or are they able to swallow their anger? Hee, Brother Mingyu, you're a little impetuous. You can't do that. You've just taken back the position of the family head from Xiao Mingyue. Shouldn't you be happy?" Ning Zhengfeng sipped his tea and said. Xiao Mingyu snorted coldly and said proudly, "Second brother, that idiot deserved to die. I knew that he wouldn't be the family head for long. I deserve to be the Xiao family head. What's there to be happy about? Oh yes, Brother Mingyu, since Xiao Mingyue is dead, what do you plan to do with his grandson, Xiao Yangshu? He's a good seedling." Ning Zhengfeng narrowed his eyes and said. A cold light flashed in Xiao Mingyu's eyes. "Ning Zhengfeng, you've investigated very clearly. I have my own ideas on how to deal with it. As a Xiao family head, I've always done things impartially for the benefit of the Xiao family." These words did not match his heart because the murderous intent in his eyes was clear. In this joint attack by the Xiao family, Xiao Mahui, Xiao Majing, and Xiao Mingyue had all died in battle. Xiao Yangshu was the most obvious third-generation successor in the family. However, he was after all not a descendant of Xiao Mingyu. Hence, it was a big problem for him to survive. However, at this critical juncture, no one would come forward to embarrass Xiao Mingyu and protect Xiao Yangshu. It didn't matter much whether this kid died or not. At most, after the crisis, Xiao Mingyu could choose a successor from the hundreds of third-generation descendants of the Xiao family. Just as the few of them were chatting, a graceful red shadow suddenly flew in from outside. "Luo Qinxiu, you still have the face to come and die. Watch me chop off your dog head." This cold-looking girl flew into the room and waved her horsetail whisk, sending out several whips of white hair. They intertwined from all directions and tightly wrapped around Luo Qinxiu's neck. Luo Qinxiu was calmly drinking his tea. He didn't even look at her, as if he didn't even notice that this girl had barged in. Ning Zhengfeng and Xiao Mingyu also didn't move, only revealing a strange smile, as if they were watching a good show. Chapter 1577. Pung, pung, pung. Before the horsetail whisks could even touch Luo Qinxiu, they were stopped in midair and dispersed. An invisible true essence shockwave spread out from Luo Qinxiu's body and pushed the red figure away like a Tai Chi hand. It did not hurt her. The woman in red staggered a few steps back. Her face was flushed and she was furious. It was Yin Feiyu who had taken off her nun's clothes and returned to her female attire. "Oh, Master Luo, your old lover is here to look for you. Aren't you a little too cold to treat her like this?" Ning Zhengfeng teased. Yin Feiyu glanced at him coldly. "What nonsense are you talking about? Ning Zhengfeng, don't forget that this is Homing's Xiantian Island, not your Ning family. I'm sorry. I forgot that Miss Fei Yu is the second daughter of the Yin family. Sorry. Ning Zhengfeng smiled mischievously. Yin Fei Yu ignored him and raised the Tai horsetail whisk in her hand. A white rune swirled around it, and a large number of ice spikes suddenly burst out, shooting towards Luo Qinxiu like thousands of arrows. Although she had advanced to the karmic fire stage, the difference between them was still too big for Luo Qinxiu. The icicles were melted by the icicles before they could even reach 3 feet away from Luo Qinxiu. The profound ice arrows were just like a puddle of ice water as they fell to the ground, bringing with them a cool breeze. Yin Feiyu saw that Luo Qinxiu did not even look at her and became even angrier. Her attacks were ineffective, and she decided to charge forward like a shrew. Yin Feiyu ran towards Luo Qinxiu and scolded, "You ingrate, despicable bastard! I'll tear you apart." Luo Qinxiu frowned at her attitude. He flicked his sleeves and sent her flying with another wave of true essence. A dozen cultivators flew in from outside. The man at the front caught Yin Feiyu. It was Yin Feiyun. "Second sister, stop fooling around." Yin Feiyu struggled to escape from her brother's hands. "Big brother, don't worry about me. Go and kill that bastard Luo Qinxiu for me. I know you hate him. I also want to dig his heart out. But we're not his match." Yin Feiyun gritted his teeth and glared at Luo Qinxiu. Yin Feiling ran forward and grabbed Yin Feiyu's arm. "Second sister, don't be like this. You should be thankful that he didn't kill you. Humph. Kill me if he has the guts. How dare he?" Yin Feiyu's face turned red and pale. She was furious. More than 10 tribulation stage Yin clan cultivators were already standing in front of the 3 siblings, nervously guarding them. But they all knew that if Luo Qinxiu, who had been silent all this time, were to make a move, they wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Luo Qinxiu finally got up slowly, glancing at the 3 siblings. "This seed has already spared you several times. If you dare to offend me again, this seat will not let you off lightly." "Bah, Luo Qinxiu, what are you talking about? If you're really that powerful, you wouldn't need to come to Hongmeng for help. I'm going to tell my father right now. We, Hongmeng, will not do anything. I'll kill everyone in the Luo clan." Yin Feiyu scolded. "Humph, Elder Yin is not someone you juniors can shake. He's not as ungrateful as you are," Luo Qinxiu said disdainfully. "You're the one who doesn't know what's good for you. You ruined my life. Do you think my father will let you off so easily?" Yin Feiyu said angrily. Luo Qinxiu's face darkened. "Yin Feiyu, this seat has nothing to do with you. What happened back then was your own wishful thinking. I've never promised you anything. Today, I've already spared you 3 times. Otherwise, do you think I won't dare to kill you in Hongmeng?" Yin Feiyun and Yin Feiling were furious when they heard this. Although the 3 siblings had their own disputes and tempers, they were all members of the Yin clan after all. They were biological siblings. Yin Feiyu's ill-fated relationship with Luo Qinxiu in the past was indeed because Yin Feiyu had fallen in love with him first. But as a man, not only did Luo Qinxiu abandon Yin Feiyu, he even abandoned her like a shoe. How could the proud and arrogant Yin family members really tolerate this? If Luo Qinxiu had not been stronger than Yin Wuchen, and if Yin Feiyu had not taken the initiative, Yin Wuchen would have gone to war with the Luo clan. After all, if Yin Wuchen had really made a move, the other experts in Hongmeng would have done so. Even if they couldn't destroy the Luo clan, they would at least make them suffer. When that happened, the Ning clan and the Shao clan would suppress the Luo clan. This matter would not be resolved so easily. "Luo Qinxiu, if anything happens to my second sister, the Yin clan will not be able to coexist with you. You will receive retribution for what you've said today." Yin Feiyin remained calm and did not let go. He grabbed Yin Feiyu and left with his men. No matter how much Yin Feiyu cried, Yin Feiyun did not let go. In the end, he was dragged away. When it was quiet, Ning Zhengfeng chuckled and said to Luo Qinxiu, "Master Luo, if our alliance with Hongmeng falls through because the elders of Elder Yin Wuchen's faction did not agree to it, it's all your fault. Keep your heart to yourself. Luo Qinxiu sat down leisurely and said, Yin Wuchen is not a child. He knows that the most rational choice is to make. Otherwise, he could have refused to see us. On the other side, on a floating island in the Earth realm, Yin Feiyu, who had been dragged to a pavilion in the middle of a lake by Yin Feiyun, was still sobbing. She no longer had the cold arrogance of Abbess Misty Rain. Instead, she looked more like a pitiful woman who had been abandoned. Yin Feiling patted her second sister's shoulder. Her eyes were red, and she did not know how to comfort her. Yin Feiyu hated men to the core because she was abandoned by Luo Qinxiu. She wanted to become a nun and gave herself the Buddhist title of Abbess Misty Rain. This was also the reason why she wanted to take Qiang Wei as her disciple and disliked Yang Cheng. This was an open secret among the higher-ups of Hongming and a great humiliation to the Yin clan. However, because of Yin Wuchen, no one dared to talk about it. Yin Feiyu's heart seemed to have recovered a lot. However, after seeing Luo Qinxiu today, the sad memories from decades ago resurfaced again. Second sister, I know you hate him. However, he is too powerful. Even father can only pretend that nothing happened and see him as usual. You shouldn't be so rash, Yin Feiyun sighed. Brother, I know, but I just can't take it. Yin Feiyu wiped her tears and said, I've let father down and the ancestors of the Yin clan. I really want to die. If I didn't do things my own way back then, I wouldn't have made such a huge mistake. I don't have the face to see father. Second sister, how can the feelings between a man and a woman be controlled so easily? Back then, your cultivation was still low. It's normal that you couldn't control your Taoist heart. If you want to blame someone, blame Luo Qinxiu for his evil intentions. He pretended to deceive you and stole our Yin clan's cultivation technique. Even now, he still refuses to admit it. Yin Feiyu's eyes were filled with sadness. She lowered her head silently. It seemed that after calming down, there was more sadness in her eyes. Suddenly, Yin Feiyun turned to Yin Feiling and said, Third sister, this time, Hongming will most likely attack together to deal with Yang Cheng. I know that you haven't completely disassociated yourself from the Yang clan. However, this time, don't stand on the wrong side. Otherwise, father won't be able to protect you. At the mention of this, Yin Feiyu also raised her head and looked at her sister worriedly. Yin Feiling bit her thin lips and revealed a trace of pity. In the end, she could only nod her head. I know, big brother. Actually, even if I don't want child Yang to be hurt, there's nothing I can do for him. Yin Feiling sighed. Just as the three siblings were thinking about something and were silent, a figure flew over from afar and landed respectfully in front of Yin Feiyun. Elder Feiyun, we've caught a seriously injured intruder. How should we deal with him? The Earth Stage of Hongming would usually deal with daily affairs. As one of the Earth Stage elders, Yin Feiyun was in charge of the defense of Hongming. Intruder? Yin Feiyun asked suspiciously. Have you asked who he is? How'd he get injured? The man replied. He said that he wants to see his big brother. Something big has happened to the family. He's the second master of the Ning family. However, we saw that he was seriously injured and seemed to be delirious, so we didn't dare to deal with him. After being stunned for a moment, Yin Feiyun suddenly thought of something and shouted, Bring me to that person immediately. Soon, Yin Feiyun arrived at an empty space. There were two Hongming cultivators guarding a wounded person. He was lying on the ground. His face was charred black, and he seemed to be dying. Chapter 1578. Yin Feiyun was knowledgeable. Although this cultivator's face was unrecognizable, and his clothes were tattered and black, as if they had been roasted, he could still recognize him from his face. He was the second master of the Ning family, Ning Zhenggang. Ning Zhenggang? What happened to you? Yin Feiyun rushed to Ning Zhenggang's side and asked hurriedly. Quick, quick! Ning Zhenggang stretched out his hand with difficulty and grabbed Yin Feiyun's arm. His lips moved slightly. Inform my big brother, Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng has attacked our Ning family. Yin Feiyun and the rest of the Hongming cultivators were dumbfounded. They knew that Yang Cheng and the hidden family were at loggerheads, but they didn't expect that this lunatic would actually attack them alone. Seeing that Ning Zhenggang was about to die, he quickly took out a bottle of healing mid-grade spirit pills. This was a very precious item, but he couldn't be stingy at a time like this. He stuffed the spirit pill into Ning Xingong's mouth and transferred some true essence to him. Finally, Ning Xingong's injured meridians were slightly healed, allowing him to regain some vitality and temporarily preserve his life. Ning Xingong's eyes became clearer, and he regained some strength. Yan Feiyun helped him up. "Let's go. I'll bring you to Heaven's Vault Island to see my father and the rest." He then instructed a few other cultivators, "Go and inform the head of the Ning family. Quick!" For a moment, a tense atmosphere enveloped everyone. The Hongming cultivators scattered and began to spread the news. When Yan Feiyun brought Ning Zhenggang to Heaven's Vault Island, he saw Ning Zhengfeng and Luo Qianxiu following him to the meeting place. Seeing Ning Zhenggang's situation, Ning Zhengfeng's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly asked what had happened. The group of Heaven Stage elders was also a little stunned by this sudden situation. Ning Zhenggang panted heavily as he briefly recounted what had happened. The entire place fell silent, and everyone sucked in a cold breath. It turned out that about 15 minutes ago, Yang Cheng suddenly appeared in the sky above the territory of the Ning family. When the guards discovered Yang Cheng didn't say a word and immediately started a frenzied massacre. Various kinds of karmic fire, dark water, weak water, purple fire, blue fire, and dark fire attacked, causing these Ning family cultivators to die with grievances. Ning Zhenggang, who realized that the situation was not good, ran to Hongmeng to report under the urging of the few weak water stage supreme elders who stayed behind. If it were not for the 4 grand elders struggling to hold on, and one of the grand elders had a lower grade immortal weapon, Ning Zhenggang would not have been able to escape from Yang Cheng's control. Even so, Ning Zhenggang was affected by the purple fire and was severely injured. He almost died before he could reach Hongmeng. Damn it! Why would Yang Cheng attack our Ning family first? Ning Zhengfeng cursed. He couldn't imagine the predicament his family was in right now. Xiao Mingyu suddenly frowned and said, "Ning Zhengfeng, what do you mean? Do you want our Xiao family to be destroyed first? Isn't that so? You guys started a feud with him first." Ning Zhengfeng roared. "You bastard!" Luo Qianxiu's shout cut off the quarrel between the two, his voice cold and harsh. "Enough. This is not the time for us to fight among ourselves." Yang Cheng went to the Ning family. The reason is very simple. When he flew over from overseas, the Ning family was the first place he reached. It was closer than the Luo family and the Xiao family. What? Ning Zhengfeng and Xiao Mingyu were stunned. Then they thought about it and realized that it was true. The Ning family, which was located in the south of the Illusion Realm, was the first hidden family to arrive from the southwest. Luo Qianxiu said to the group of Heaven Stage elders in a deep voice, "Dear Heaven Stage elders, are you still hesitating? Yang Cheng will attack the Ning family first, and not the Luo family and the Xiao family. This can only mean that he is determined to eradicate all 3 of our families. So he doesn't care who has a deep grudge or a shallow grudge. Do you really think that a lunatic like him would let Hongmeng get away with killing innocents? Or do you think that you will have a chance to defeat Yang Cheng when our hidden family falls? Don't forget, he has the Chaos Cauldron. There is only one way to defeat the Chaos Cauldron. Absolute power, a desperate suppression. If we let it repeatedly eat a large number of cultivators, it will only become more and more difficult to deal with." The Heaven Stage elders all became nervous. The 4 elders exchanged glances as if they were planning to make up their minds. Ning Zhengfeng suddenly thought of something and asked Ning Zhenggang, "Second brother, where is third sister? Is she mediating with Yang Cheng?" "No, third sister, she." Ning Zhenggang said dejectedly, "I don't know where she went. I can't see her. What?" At this critical moment of the family's survival, she disappeared? Ning Zhengfeng's face was ashen, and he was extremely angry. While the atmosphere was heavy, Yin Wuchen and the other elders nodded heavily. "Good. In order to uphold justice and eradicate evil, we will put down our prejudices this time and join the experts of the hidden families to kill the evil thief Yang Cheng. Yin Wuchen said loudly. Luo Qianqiu's eyes flashed as he said, "Since that's the case, let's not delay any further. We will gather our experts and head to the Ning family together." "Amiba," Master Yin Yin said, "this old monk will not be accompanying you in this operation. This old monk will bring my disciples to set up the Vajra demon subduing formation to protect Hongmeng, so as to prevent some evildoers from taking advantage of the situation. I hope that the clan leaders will forgive me. Master's words are too serious, we can understand." Although Master Yin Yin would lose a great help if he didn't go with them, with the other 3 elders from the top 10 experts leading a group of heaven-rank elders, it would be more than enough. Luo Qianqiu and the others wouldn't insist on it. At the same time, in the central region of the North Pole, on the vast ice and snow wilderness, a magnificent scenery was silently blossoming. It was an unimaginably huge golden tree. It broke out of the ice and went straight into the clouds. The circumference of this huge golden tree alone was more than 1,000 feet. The base of the main trunk extended into the bottomless Arctic Ocean, and no one knew where its roots extended to. The crown of the tree, which was nearly 10,000 meters high, was like a golden flame that covered the sky and the sun. The branches were all swaying with golden leaves. Every golden leaf was shining like the sun, and it was even bigger than an ordinary passenger plane. On the huge tree, whether it was the trunk, branches, or leaves, they were all flashing with obscure and strange characters. The characters were constantly rotating and flowing, as if there were trillions of spirits cheering and jumping. And surrounding the huge tree for dozens of kilometers, there was also a huge light golden protective wall. However, the impenetrable defense wall could gather the endless solar energy in the sky, which was then absorbed by the giant tree and turned into its own power. In the center of the tree crown, in a dazzling area, a man and a woman were floating in the air. The man and the woman were shining with bright yellow and light golden light, respectively, like 2 balls of light. If one looked carefully, they would find that the light came from their heads. After the energy emitted by the huge golden tree was absorbed into the bodies of the man and the woman, another kind of energy was released from their heads and poured into the center of the huge tree. In the center of the tree crown, a ball of light yellow energy that contained vitality was gradually growing. Suddenly, 2 figures entered this peaceful and tranquil golden area. It was also a man and a woman. The man was wearing a black suit and looked sinister, while the woman was wearing a cloud-sleeve green gown and looked like a fairy. The man and woman who were exchanging energy with the huge tree turned around and looked at the intruder. After exchanging glances with the man and woman, they both looked calm and unsurprised. "It's been hard on you, Ares Aphrodite. That bitch is really too much. Why did she only let you 2 help the Tree of Earth to recover? Isn't it tiring?" The woman in the green gown said with an arrogant smile. She was Ning Ruaju of the Ning family, and the glowing man and woman were Ares and Kristen, who had disappeared before. Kristen frowned and combed her blonde hair elegantly. This simple action was like a beautiful painting. She sighed softly. "After so long, you're finally willing to show up at this time. We thought you were going to hide and let Hermes be your spokesperson. I haven't seen you for more than 3,000 years, Hera." Ning Ruaju, who was the queen of heaven Hera, giggled. "I didn't mean to hide, it's just that I'm not interested in coming out. But it's different now. I didn't expect that crazy woman to use Gaia's heart to plant the Tree of Earth again." Chapter 1579. Hera, stop pretending. I think it's not that you're not interested in coming out. It's that it's not that you're not interested in coming out. It's just that it's not easy to do things. Kristen mocked. "Aphrodite, why do you say that?" Hera leisurely bent down and sniffed a golden leaf with a calm look. Kristen said, "You still don't want to admit it? There's no one else in the world who can make a fake, magical girdle other than Hephaestus. Only he knows all the key points of forging, and only you can make him do such a thing. That time, you used a fake to expose Athena's plan, but you didn't show up and let Hermes run errands for you. Do you think we can't guess?" Hera looked stunned. So you're talking about that matter? Hee hee, it's a pity that it didn't have the desired effect. I can only say that my divination isn't proficient enough and I didn't grasp the timing right. Divination? Ares turned his head and frowned. Is it that Hua Xia cultivator's calculation ability that's similar to Athena's great prophecy? Wasn't the user of that spell killed by Athena 20,000 years ago? Hera laughed. That's right. I've thought about it for a long time. To defeat that bitch, I have to deal with her great prophecy as much as possible. So I spent thousands of years collecting all kinds of ancient books to restore the divination. You've been hiding for more than 3,000 years. So you've been studying the techniques of Hua Xia cultivators? Ares grinned. You're really good at enduring. Unfortunately, you're no match for Athena's absolute strength. Hera chuckled a little unwillingly. Yes, I fell short at the last moment. But it's not bad now. At least I can see that the bitch's great prophecy is no longer absolutely accurate. This means that one day in the future, the ending may be different from what she thought. This is very interesting. So you two aren't here to disturb us? Kristen asked suspiciously. Hermes spread his hands. Hey, Aphrodite, Ares, what are you thinking? Even if we don't like Athena, it doesn't mean that we don't want the revival of the gods. This is the tree of earth, in front of Mother Gaia. We will not be disrespectful. There are only two of you. It will take a long time for the tree of earth to recover to its peak. Aren't Poseidon and Apollo going to help? Hera asked. Kristen let out a sigh of relief. She knew that the two of them weren't here to pick a fight, but to take a look out of goodwill. She smiled. According to the original plan, Athena hoped to collect the divinity scattered in some artifacts and cultivate a part of the divine race. Then, together with the divinity of the 11 main gods, they would activate the core Titan bloodline of the Tree of Earth. However, Athena later discovered that Earth was different from Mars. Earth's core contained some trace elements that could activate the Titan's bloodline. As long as the time was right, the Titan's bloodline could be successfully activated. Therefore, she gave up on the cloned Protoss warriors. Anyway, their divinity was very incomplete and could not be of much use. Now, Ares and I are mainly responsible for looking after the Tree of Earth. Helping the Tree of Earth to activate the Titan's bloodline is actually not a heavy responsibility, so you don't need to help too much. Hera squinted her eyes and smiled. In that case, Athena did make a wrong move. Her great prophecy is indeed inaccurate, ever since she had a problem with herself. But what she wanted to do is finally coming true, isn't it? Kristen asked rhetorically. Hera nodded and turned back to look at the boundless land of ice and snow in the distance. I didn't expect Earth to be more suitable for the growth of the Tree of Earth. But it seems that if the Earth's core is affected by the Tree of Earth, it will not be as simple as global cooling in the future. Humans have to be careful. Hermes laughed evilly. They're a group of lowly reptiles, inferior creatures. If it weren't for us losing the support of Gaia's heart, Hua Xia would not have been able to hold on, and humans would have been wiped out by us. This is just a delayed occupation after 20,000 years. A trace of pity flashed in Kristen's eyes. She said irritably, if the two of you are here to take a look, then you can leave. With the Gaia barrier, the Tree of Earth is very safe. All right. I know you are still angry, but it just so happens that I have nowhere else to go. Why don't I stay here and relax for a while? Hera gently stroked the thick trunk and smiled. Although ordinary humans can't find this place, it will be troublesome if a powerful Hua Xia cultivator comes. With me here, you can serve the Tree of Earth and Anshin. No need. It'll be great if a master comes to relieve my boredom, Ares said disdainfully. Hera rolled her eyes at him and ignored him. Hermes smiled eerily. At this time, I'm afraid Hades has already killed his way into the illusion. Aren't you going to take a look? So what if I saw it? The outcome of this battle was already decided anyway. It's all arranged by that *Tsich, Hera said casually. Then, she laid down gracefully on a dense leaf, as if she was going to have a good nap. Kristen and Ares looked at each other with a complicated expression and shook their heads. Illusion, Ning family. The originally modern and magnificent skyscrapers were already in ruins. The skyscrapers had collapsed one by one and were in tatters. The sea of fire burned the broken buildings. After a large area of woodland was affected, it spread further. It wouldn't be long before this place became a ruin. The Ning family seemed to be a thing of the past. The guards and cultivators of the Ning family had also suffered heavy casualties. Only a small part of them escaped. Most of them had died in the battle in just half an hour. Blood flowed like a river, and corpses were everywhere. It was no longer possible to describe the tragedy here. Burnt limbs and broken bones were everywhere, and scattered flesh and organs were everywhere. It was almost impossible to see that any of the corpses were complete. Of course, there were many cultivators who had been completely burned, and corroded. Not a single corpse was left. At this time, in the sky, there was a grayish-black energy that seemed to cover the sky. It was wreaking havoc in the surrounding spiritual energy, as if it wanted to swallow the entire sky. Yang Chung stood between heaven and earth. His eyes were filled with a fanatical killing intent brought about by a crazy massacre. The huge chaos cauldron faintly attracted the sound of wind and thunder. It also sounded like the low roar of chaos as it circled in the sky. After the massacre, just now, Yang Chung had used the chaos cauldron to eat hundreds of cultivators in the tribulation stage. With Yang Cheng's current Tai Ching Heavenly Thunder Tribulation realm and cultivation level, he could enter the Shangqing realm at any time. These cultivators of the Ning family were no match for him. No matter how many came, they would all die. However, most of the cultivators of the Ning family were arrogant and had no thoughts of escaping. When they realized that their strength could not be made up for, it was already too late. After these cultivators turned into pure spiritual energy and were absorbed, even at Yang Cheng's current cultivation level, there was a very obvious improvement in his cultivation level. The Chaos Cauldron also grew a lot stronger. The ferocious totem on it was clearer and more powerful than before. Streams of chaotic energy condensed into the shape of giant flying swords and terrifying battle axes. They also turned into roaring beasts and attacked their opponents without restraint. In reality, there were only two lonely figures that were stubbornly resisting the wave after wave of fierce attacks from Yang Chung. Demon, you have created such a heinous crime. You will definitely die a horrible death in the future. The great elder of the Ning family, Ning Zhang, who was over 300 years old, had blood at the corner of his mouth. With the cultivation of the Weakwater Peak, he was activating a purple gold cone-shaped hollowed magic treasure. It was a low-grade defensive immortal weapon of the Ning family, the purple gold exquisite shield. This magic treasure was said to be integrated with a trace of the bloodline of the ancient divine beast, the Black Tortoise. It could activate the two spirits of metal and earth to form a tyrannical large-scale barrier. What was more precious was that this magic treasure could gather the cultivation of more than one cultivator to activate. As the total amount of true essence activated increased, its power could also increase dramatically. Even a normal offensive immortal weapon could not break this barrier. Even if it was broken, the power of the attack would be greatly reduced. It was a purple gold barrier that was tens of feet wide. It protected him and the other great elder, Ning Xiu, who was at the Weakwater middle stage. The two of them were trying their best to transfer true essence to resist Yang Cheng's increasingly violent attacks. But the two great elders were no longer enough for Yang Chung. It was only a matter of time before they were broken through. Every time Yang Cheng's purple fire, blue fire, chaotic force, and dazzling attacks fell on the barrier, the two of them could not help but feel their blood and qi churning. It was extremely uncomfortable. But when they thought of the hundreds and thousands of cultivators of the Ning family and the two great elders of the Weakwater stage who had died in the battle for the family, they had no thoughts of escaping. Humph, I didn't come to kill you, but you still want to kill my wife and daughter. All this is what your hidden family asked for. Are you saying that only I can die and you can't? Yang Chung was not in the mood to listen to their messy righteousness. He had made up his mind to exterminate the hidden family first. Anyway, tens of thousands of people had died in his hands. It didn't matter if there were thousands more. This was crazy, but for Yang Cheng, it was the most direct and effective way. If I don't go to hell, who will? Another dozen or so chaotic force attacks smashed against the purple-gold barrier. Finally, a few cracks appeared on the barrier. Chapter 1580. Puff. The female elder, Ning Shuiyu, who was helping to channel the true essence, spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as a sheet, and it seemed that she could not hold on any longer. Ning Xiang exclaimed, "Shuiyu!" But before he could say anything, Yang Cheng continued to send dozens of attacks, like thousands of arrows piercing through the heart, shattering the purple-gold barrier. Originally, there were other Grand Elders who could help, but after Yang Cheng killed them one by one, only the two of them were left. Even with a low-grade celestial artifact-level defensive magic treasure, they could not withstand the attack of Yang Cheng's Chaos Cauldron. After all, the gap was too big. After all, the Chaos Cauldron had recovered to at least the level of a high-grade celestial artifact. If it completely recovered, it might not be able to measure its power as a celestial artifact. The two of them were already strained with true essence, and Yang Cheng's absorption of the power of heaven and earth could be said to be endless. Once the time passed, the truth would be revealed. Ning Xiang and Ning Shuiyu had completely given up on attacking and staked everything on defense for such a short period of time. There were some cracks on the purple-gold exquisite shield. If this celestial artifact continued to be used forcefully, it might be destroyed in the hands of Yang Cheng. Ning Xiang looked at Ning Shuiyu, who was dying and could fall at any time, and sighed bitterly in his heart. It's been tens of thousands of years. Is the Ning family really going to perish today? As the one with the highest cultivation among the Grand Elders who had returned to guard the clan, Ning Xiang naturally knew that it was impossible for the clan to only have these few Grand Elders left. However, the only possibility for those hidden old fellows to not show themselves despite seeing the clan being massacred was that they didn't want to die. Everyone knew that they were no match for Yang Cheng, so they chose to live on rather than fight to the death for the family. Thinking of this, Ning Xiang realized that even if the Ning family could really survive, the will of the family was already dead. This was true decline. It was fine in times of peace, but once a disaster occurred, they would be like chickens and dogs, unable to withstand a single blow. Yang Chen didn't think too much about it. He felt that he had wasted too much time trying to break through this damn defense. If it wasn't for that defensive immortal artifact, he would have killed everyone in the Ning clan long ago. He wouldn't have let so many people escape. Seeing that the two elders of the Ning family could not continue, Yang Cheng immediately controlled the Chaos Cauldron to cover them. Seeing that the two elders of the Ning family could not continue, Yang Cheng immediately controlled the Chaos Cauldron to cover them. Seeing that the Chaos Cauldron was right in front of them, and the huge suction force made them unable to move, Ning Xiang put on a ferocious expression and used all his strength to try to escape. Ning Shuiyu couldn't hold on any longer. She gave up resisting and directly became a meal on the plate of chaos. She was sucked into the cauldron and turned into a stream of spiritual qi. His old friend of hundreds of years had to watch helplessly as he watched his friend die. He could not even say a word as he channeled his vital energy to escape. At this critical moment, several dark red lightning bolts shot from afar like meteors, followed by a large number of blue ice arrows. They flew towards Yang Cheng like a swarm of locusts. Yang Cheng frowned as he sensed a large number of cultivators approaching. He smiled evilly. Are the reinforcements finally here? That's good. It saves me the trouble of looking for them. Turning around, he raised his hand and raised a grayish-white light screen of weak water, blocking all the fatal attacks outside. Not even the corner of his clothes could touch it. As expected, Luo Qinxiu, Ning Zhengfeng, and Yin Wuchen arrived with a large group of cultivators from the Luo family, Xiao family, and Hongming. Ning Zhengfeng's eyes turned red with anger when he saw that the Ning clan was in ruins. He was filled with murderous intent, and he wanted to skin Yang Chen alive. On the other hand, Luo Qinxiu and Xiao Mingyu were more or less gloating. He is indeed ferocious. He has been bewitched by the chaos cauldron and has become a murderous demon. Elder Lu Xuan lamented bitterly as he looked at the bloody scene on the ground and the severed limbs. This man's strength is unimaginable. He is only in his 20s, but he has fallen into the path of evil. If we don't get rid of him today, he will be a great threat to Huaxia in the future, Xiao Mingyu said solemnly. The group of Hongming elders nodded in agreement. This scene was too shocking for them to bear. Ning Xiang finally had the chance to fly to the reinforcements and report the situation to Ning Zhengfeng. Knowing that another 3 great elders of the clan had died in battle, Ning Zhengfeng was so anxious that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood out of anger. However, when they saw the cracks on the purple-gold exquisite shield that could not be used by force, they felt a chill down their spines again. This guy could even break a fairy weapon. If it was an ordinary cultivator in the weak water stage, he would not be able to take a single blow from him. Yang Qing looked at the hundreds of illusion experts gathered together. His fighting spirit surged, and he said in a loud voice, "Don't talk nonsense. Who has fallen into the path of evil and who has fallen into the path of righteousness is not something that you sanctimonious people can say. Heaven is watching what people do. Today's battle is also caused by your greed. I, Yang Cheng, have a clear conscience. At least I am the one who killed them. I will not deny that I want to kill all of you old thieves and wash the illusion with blood. Come up if you have the ability. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you the chance to resist. I want to see what you can do to me. Brat, don't talk nonsense. Do you really think that you have 3 heads and 6 arms and can fight 100 people alone? If it wasn't for your ancestor, this old man would have taught you a lesson a long time ago. Your actions today will not be tolerated by the heavens." Ancestor? Yang Cheng did not understand what he meant, but he was too lazy to think about it. He directly ignored it because the other party was about to attack. Yin Wuchen suddenly took a few steps forward. Layers of surging and magnificent dark blue cold air appeared around his body. His beard and hair fluttered in the wind. Unknowingly, a huge long saber had appeared in his hand. This long saber was black and blue. Ancient patterns covered its entire body. Only the edge of the saber had a trace of light blue. It was more than 10 feet long and 5 feet wide. It was ridiculously large, like a tall building. However, in Yin Wuchen's hands, it was as fast as black lightning, stirring up waves of surging cold air. Elder, Yin seems to be serious the moment he goes up. The giant abyss blade hasn't fought for more than 100 years. Immediately, an elder of Hongmeng exclaimed, "That must be the case. The opponent is a Tai Ching divine thunder cultivator with the chaos cauldron. Although the giant abyss blade is an immortal weapon, it is still a low-grade one. It can't be compared to the chaos cauldron. It's hard to say. There's a river of blood here, and there are heavy casualties. The giant abyss blade can increase its power by a lot. But Elder Yan's cultivation level is umph. How can you boost his morale?" Lu Shuan bellowed, interrupting the whispers of the Grand Mist sect elders. He flew forward as well, and a large amount of colorful sword chi was released from his body. The sword chi swirled around him, and he looked invincible. Nebulous sword, along with Lu Shuan's summon. The multicolored sword chi that wreaked havoc converged before him and transformed into a 6-foot-long blade that glowed with multicolored ripples. It was Lu Shuan's magic treasure, the nebulous sword. It was also a magic treasure between high-grade and immortal artifacts. It could be considered a half-immortal artifact. Combined with Lu Shuan's sword technique, its power was extraordinary. One was dark blue, the other was colorful. 2 figures burst out with true essence pressure that far exceeded the peak of the weak water realm and rushed out. The other cultivators naturally did not want to be left behind. They all took out their own magic treasures and techniques and surrounded Yang Cheng. Luo Qinxiu, Ning Zhengfeng, and the others also led their own men to join in. With a large number of experts from Hongmeng, they were much more confident. Unfortunately, Luo Pingqiao had returned to his family to recuperate, so he could not participate in the battle. Yang Cheng narrowed his eyes. There must be some special methods among these cultivators. If he rashly attacked someone, he would inevitably be suppressed. Thus, he quietly observed the situation, planning to deal with each move and find an opportunity to break through them one by one. Unexpectedly, this group of people had already discussed something before they came here. None of them got too close to Yang Chun. Yan Wuchen and Lu Shiyuan would be the vanguard to restrict Yang Chun. Northern Dark Ice Soul, Profound Ice Domain, Sword Spirit Void, Nebulous Sword Formation. The giant abyss blade in Yin Wuchen's hand was like a black bolt of lightning. It instantly fell to the 9 heavens and pierced deep into the ground. Ice-cold, true essence surged like a raging wave, and the dark blue northern dark ice formed a sky with a radius of a few miles. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped Yang Cheng. On the other hand, the nebulous sword hit the top of the sky just in time. It scattered like the blooming of a galaxy, turning into a rain of countless meteors. Every meteor was a sharp sword that was condensed from dense sword aura. They fell towards Yang Chun and his surroundings in a densely packed manner. Chapter 1581. The speed at which Yin Wuchen and Lu Shiyuan attacked shocked Yang Cheng. He didn't expect that such a large-scale attack could be completed in the blink of an eye. Looking at the familiar ice dome domain, Yang Cheng suddenly thought of his encounter in Arnhem, Australia. This old guy is Yin Wuchen. Was he the one who attacked me wearing a mask? His hair color didn't look like it, but it was hard to say. Before Yang Cheng could think about it, Lu Shiyuan's nebula sword array was imminent. The nebula sword could control the spirits of the 5 elements. Therefore, when the flying swords fell, they came in all shapes and sizes, combining hardness and softness to increase their power. Yang Cheng didn't dare to be careless. After being baptized by such dense sword energies, no matter how strong his body was, he would still be injured. He hurriedly activated the Chaos Cauldron and urged the Chaos Vile Soul to swallow the falling sword energies. The Chaos Vile Soul was almost shattered by the sword rain several times. Fortunately, Yang Cheng continued to replenish it with the power of chaos and finally survived this round of attack. The strength of the 4 elders of Hongmeng was unquestionable. They calmed the group of cultivators and boosted their confidence, thinking that Yang Cheng wasn't really difficult to defeat. However, Lu Shiyuan, who was the one who executed the killing move, was shocked. His nebula sword formation required a huge amount of true yuan to execute, and he even had the upper hand. He didn't expect it to be useless against Yang Chun. This proved that there was a huge gap between the two of them. At the very least, he would definitely be defeated within a few moves. However, the arrow was already on the bow and had to be released. Lu Shiyuan's hands formed sword fingers, and he quickly drew out sword runes one after another. Infinite Sword, Sword Prison Lock. Following his order, there was a sudden change in the Mystic Ice Domain. Just as Yang Cheng was about to attack the Mystic Ice Dome, he saw that the Sword Chi Light swords that didn't shoot at him just now actually moved. Those Sword Chi Light swords didn't dissipate. Instead, after stabbing into the ground, under Lu Shiyuan's command, they all shot thin but sharp sword chi toward the top of Yang Cheng's head. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of metal clashing could be heard. Streaks of colorful sword energy surrounded Yang Chun, forming a cage of sword energy. Then, the sword prison began to claim his life. The sword chi surrounded him from all directions, forming a chaotic space of sword chi. Every second, tens of thousands of sword chi attacked Yang Cheng's chaos shield. Yang Chun felt that Lu Shiyuan's moves were similar to the Shushan sword techniques. It was similar to what Abbas Yun Miao and Hui Lin used, but much stronger than them. In fact, Yang Chun wasn't wrong. Lu Shiyuan was indeed an expert from Shushan hundreds of years ago. However, Abbas Yun Miao and the other successors of Shushan thought that he was dead, just like Ujizi when he saw Ling Shuzi, a senior from Kunlun sect. In fact, Yang Chun was right. Lu Shiyuan was indeed an expert from Mountain Shu hundreds of years ago. It was just that Ujizi thought he was dead when he saw Ling Shuzi, a senior from the Kunlun sect. Yang Chen's body was engulfed in raging flames. The raging purple flames were mixed with a destructive power, like countless poisonous snakes entangling towards the oppressive sword energy. But Yin Wuchen was already waiting for him. He raised the giant abyss blade in his hand, and for some reason, a large amount of dark gray energy was gathering around it. It made the giant abyss blade look even fiercer and colder. But Yin Wuchen was already waiting there. The giant abyss blade in his hand was gathering a large amount of dark gray energy from all directions, making the giant abyss blade even more ferocious and cold. What's this? Yang Cheng's pupils shrank. Because of his understanding of dark flame, Yang Cheng's perception of living souls was greatly enhanced. The giant abyss blade was forcefully robbing the souls of the dead cultivators from the Ning family. The souls of those cultivators were much stronger than those of ordinary people. And because they had just died, they were full of resentment, which was the purest form of Yin energy in the world. After being absorbed by the giant abyss blade, the power it could unleash naturally increased. Huh, old ghost, how dare you say that I'm a demon? Your magic treasure is robbing the souls of those dead cultivators, so they can't be reincarnated. Do you think you're more honorable than me? Yang Cheng laughed mockingly and fearlessly rose from the ground. He gathered a ball of dark fire around him and charged at Yin Wuchen. But before he could get within 100 feet of Yin Wuchen, he was blocked by dozens of dark ice walls. Northern dark ice soul, illusory ice meteor shower. 100 feet of dark ice. Yin Wuchen waved his blade, and countless ice arrows shot out from all directions. All of them gathered toward Yang Cheng, trying to turn Yang Cheng into a sieve. Moreover, Yang Cheng was surrounded by large patches of dark blue dark ice, shrinking Yang Cheng's range of movement to a very small area. Within the dark ice domain, all the northern dark ice was under Yin Wuchen's control. The ice arrows could penetrate the ice walls, but Yang Cheng couldn't. He could only break them by force. Seeing that Yang Cheng couldn't dodge, Yin Wuchen roared and slashed the giant abyss blade, which was the size of a building down. Yin Wuchen's roar shook heaven and earth. Like a black bolt of lightning, it tore through the dark blue illusion and crashed down where Yang Cheng was. Dark flame was annihilated unwillingly under the pressure of countless ice arrows and ice walls. Meanwhile, the giant abyssal blade was like the last talisman to hasten its death. It carried with it a divine might that caused the entire world to fall silent for a moment. A burst of excitement and joy surged in the hearts of the cultivators. Under such a terrifying attack, Yang Cheng didn't even have a chance to react. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. Yin Wuchen and Lu Shan, who were the strongest among the 4 great elders of Hongming, immediately took the initiative to attack together. However, before they could fully rejoice, Luo Qinxiu and the others, who were closer to the center of the battle, already had dark and gloomy expressions. The smoke and dust dissipated, and ice crystals danced in the air. A scene that made many cultivators feel despair suddenly appeared. They saw that the ground where Yin Wuchen's giant abyss blade had struck had sunken into a huge pit that was dozens of feet wide and more than 10 feet deep. And in the center of the huge pit, a strong figure was standing with his back straight. His upper body was naked, and his left hand was raised high, and his palm was grabbing the blade of the giant abyss blade. The size of this giant blade was the size of 100 people, but seemed to be as light as a feather, and it was caught by a single hand. Yang Chun slowly raised his head. The muscles on his body weren't exaggerated, but they were filled with explosive power. Under the sunlight, they emitted a faint golden radiance. What made many cultivators shudder was that Yang Cheng's eyes were burning with disdain and fanaticism, as if he was a god of war who had walked out from the depths of hell and sentenced everyone to death. How is this possible? Yin Wuchen's hands tightly gripped the handle of the giant blade, trembling slightly. If Yang Cheng had used the powerful power of heaven and earth, such as heavenly fire and mystic water, to block his attack, he could still understand. But this guy was so abnormal that he could use his body to block the thunderous strike of the giant abyss blade that had gathered a large number of vengeful souls. You didn't expect this, did you? Old man, even if I use my fist, I can still beat all of you to the ground. In fact, Yang Cheng only dared to take the blade because he relied on the protection of the chaotic force. But it was also a fact that his body was domineering. The corner of Yang Cheng's mouth curled up into a cruel smile. Suddenly, he held the blade in his left hand and used the giant abyss blade's blade as the hilt, fiercely stabbing upwards. Bam! Yin Wuchen was caught off guard, and the hilt in his hand fell out of his hand, and the top directly hit his chest. Even with the protection of true essence, this huge force still sent Yin Wuchen flying back dozens of feet, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Yang Cheng coldly snorted and directly turned the giant abyss blade around. He held the hilt in his hand and waved it twice in a relaxed manner. I've long wanted to find a big enough blade to kill people. This thing is not bad. I'll accept it. Yang Cheng injected his own heaven and earth energy into the blade, and the blade seemed to grow a bit bigger. It was already like a large passenger plane, so big that it was shocking, at least 100,000 pounds. But in Yang Cheng's hands, the 100,000-pound blade was as easy as a feather, much more nimble than in Yin Wuchen's hands. This was also something that Yang Cheng's abnormal physical fitness could do. Even a Shang Qing heavenly lightning tribulation cultivator might not have such a physique. Yang Cheng pointed the giant blade at the crowd. What other good things do you have? Take them out and show your filial piety to me. If you have no more moves, I'll start killing. Arrogant to the extreme. Arrogant to the extreme. Not only did Yin Wuchen have his magic treasure taken away, but he also suffered internal injuries. The Xian ice domain naturally broke, and the situation turned for the worse. After losing so much face, Yin Wuchen was furious, but he did not dare to attack again. Lu Xuan also retreated back to his position, not knowing what to do. Seeing that Yin Wuchen and Lu Xuan were unable to trap Yang Cheng, Ning Jingfeng no longer hesitated and shouted to Yin Shoji, "Elder Yin, you have to take action. Quick!" Yin Shoji, who was shrouded in a black robe, laughed a few times. "If I knew that they couldn't do it, I would have come and fought you, little thing." After saying that, Yin Shoji floated towards Yang Cheng like a black cloud, and from his wide sleeves, 9 small, shiny objects with a charming white light suddenly flew out. Those who were knowledgeable immediately became spirited when they saw the 9 small objects. Even Luo, Qinxiu, and the rest revealed a look of joy and confidence. Yang Cheng was a little puzzled, not knowing what this strange old man was going to do. Just as he was about to slash him with his blade, he saw a magical scene that shocked him.